Hello and welcome back to week 11 of the Hearthstone Global Games. I'm Falcone, joined still by Rob Wing, and it's Singapore versus Malaysia up next.
I'm really excited about this. So if you don't watch a lot of the North American broadcasts for Hearthstone Global Games, Cora and I often get the opportunity to cast Southeast Asian matches, and Southeast Asia and LATAM specifically have really made waves, I think, in the Hearthstone Global Games thus far, and these are two teams who I'm honestly just kind of low-key a fan of, Malaysia and Singapore.
Yeah, I know we were talking earlier. I know you were particularly looking forward to the first few games, and I'm like just waiting for the last few, especially as my team will be playing. But yeah, no, this looks like a great lineup. I'm excited to see it. Let's take a look at who's going to be playing today. Why don't you talk us through these guys?
Sure. Representing Malaysia, it's Chongger, Lalasong, Gilgamesh, Revenge, CCS. So everyone on this roster except Chongger is a member of M8 Gaming, which is kind of Malaysia's Hearthstone organization. And Chongger was actually a former member. Singapore represented by Sequinox, Crumpled, Aaron, and XNVX. And Sequinox has kind of become one of the celebrities, I feel like, of Southeast Asian Hearthstone in the Hearthstone Global Games. He's a guy who builds a lot of really fun decks, which is, you know, oftentimes in a tournament of this, this degree, you know, you tend to see people fall back on what is the more conventional wisdom good decks.
Yeah.
But he's actually someone who we've seen a lot of, it's I guess Kazakhis Priest is now the term now that Reno's gone. But
yeah, of course.
Yeah, you know, he's bringing like Charged Devil Sword and Curator in a Priest deck, and the play has been a little bit shaky at times, but he's actually been leading this Singapore team really well and actually turned them around when initially they went down 0-2. So I'm really excited for both of these teams.
I'd love to see that today. I love to see some different decks and a priest, just a priest with Charged Devilsaur in itself just sounds so bizarre to me. Like, sure, you get it from free from Amber sometimes. It can even hit the face straight away when you get it from free from Amber.
That's the best Charged Devil Sword, when it can actually just hit the face.
It's great, right? Yeah. But it's not something you expect to see in this type of tournament. As you said, a lot of the players go for the serious decks because they want to win. It's very, very important. But some of the guys, they can bring something that's a little bit different, a little bit fun, and get away with it, which always works out nicely.
Yeah, we see a slight error on the screen there. Singapore is not represented by the Austrian team, so we'll get that fixed up soon.
Wife coach? Swapped teams?
Aha, she's in Singapore now. I actually had a chance to speak with Sequinox again, and you know, I talked to him a fair bit because, again, he was one of my favorite personalities come out of Stage 1.
Right.
And we talked about, you know, how does he approach Stage 2? How does he evaluate the overall success of Singapore? And he said that overall they feel like they're getting better. They've come down to a more refined process, but they're kind of at a point where they need to have a designated person who is the shot caller. He says that a lot of times their plays are a bit shaky because there's a lot of discussion on what play should be made, and there's no process for, okay, this is what we're doing. So if you actually go back and watch the VODs, you'll see that some of the times there are just some misplays that are actually fairly easy to spot, but they're more sequencing errors and technical errors than maybe creative production approaches to how you actually do the turns.
Right. Well, it looks like it's going to be a Shaman mirror match. I think it's Crumpled playing first for Team Singapore, but not entirely sure about that. We'll find out very soon, I'm sure.
Not still wife coach. Nice try. Nice try, Falcone.
Still wife coach.
It's still wife coach. Yeah. Well, Shaman mirror, though, that is really handled in a fashion to where the Shaman that gets off the board generally is just off the board. Right. All they have really is Maelstrom Portal, so you're not running Lightning Storm, you're not running Volcano. The big clears that Shaman has access to, obviously not in this type of deck.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to Lorinda about it when we were casting last week, and he said specifically he believes the player that goes first is the person that wins usually. Because if you can get that one drop down, especially if it's a Blood Corsair with patches, and then stick a Flame Tongue Totem in between, wipe out anything your opponents just put on the board after that, then you're in a great standing moving forward through the rest of the game. The thing that happened last week during the matchup, though, is that the person that went first didn't have a one drop to play, and the person that went second ended up winning. But I just think that the important takeaway there is that the person that puts stuff on the board first just has a great shot.
Oh, right. Initiative just at a huge premium in this matchup.
Yeah.
And, you know, there are certain situations where Maelstrom Portal just bails you out. You know, if you get the Devolve onto Murlocs, get that Maelstrom Portal, a lot of times you get the board back, you clear theirs. Against Pirate Warriors, if it's just the Zos First Mate, if it's patches and you drop the Maelstrom Portal, okay, you get the board back. The problem is so many of those minions just have 2 health.
Yeah.
And Maelstrom Portal's like, really want to help, but they have 2 health.
And then you look at the other things, the Primal Fin totems and the Manatide totems and the totems. Generally, the totems that you play from the hand, they'll have 3 health.
Yeah.
Like, how do you actually deal with them when they're on the board? Sometimes you can get a Jade Claw, sometimes you can get a Jade Lightning, sometimes you can deal with them that way, but it's very slow.
It is, and because you're not getting rid of necessarily the juiciest targets, you're just kind of getting rid of smaller things. You don't necessarily get nearly as much oomph out of your spells and your weapon hits as you'd like to.
Well, there you go. It is crumpled.
Wife coach gone.
My wife coach, she can come back a little bit
We'll
later.
see her later.
That's okay. I'm okay with that. And yeah, it is going to be the Shaman mirror match. So we were right. We weren't talking rubbish for the last few minutes. So that's always good to know. Of course, we were talking rubbish if one of them ends up being a Jade Shaman, as we have seen some of that recently. They've really fallen off, though. Like, a while back, especially during, I think it was the NA Spring Prelims, there were so many slow Shamans, slow decks everywhere. But recently it's all about the Evolved Shaman. I think there was 1 or 2 in the top 16 at DreamHack.
We even see every so often, this is extremely rare, some kind of Elemental Shaman hybrid.
Right.
You know, I want to say Savitz did it on stream, like he hit Legend with Elemental Shaman that also had Spirit Echo. So for like 3 days, people were like, oh, Savitz played it. It's, you know, I would play this.
The thing here is that I believe the slowest Shaman, like if there is an Elemental Shaman or if there is a Jade Spirit Echo Shaman, I think it'll be favored. Because Lightning Storms, multiple Lightning Storms, multiple Devolves, Hexes, Volcanoes. If they want to keep the Evolved Shaman off the board, it's going to do a pretty good job of doing that.
All right, we're going to hop into the game here, and it is looking like it is not going to be a whole lot of surprises here. It just kind of looks like it's going to be the, Yep. Well, strap in and get ready to evolve in Bloodlust, because that's going to be a lot of that going around. Well, I would imagine at some point we actually see an evolve here. We didn't see it at all in the first series.
No, maybe there's just something we don't know, Rob. Maybe they've all removed the evolves from their deck.
This is actually just a big conspiracy. But Servant of Calamo, so I was thinking Tar Creeper looked a little bit odd, because you don't generally see Tar Creeper, but this does not surprise me. Sequinox even said that they're going to look to continue to leverage unique deck lists, because they think it's a strength, and it is certainly, from what we've seen of them, been something that has been beneficial. The element of surprise. Not a lot of teams, you know, as I'm sure Twitch chat comments regularly, a lot of teams are bringing the same list. They kind of know what's good, and that's what they're going, and that's what they're playing. But Singapore may be the hero we all deserve. They're just going to bring new and fun decks.
And as I said, slowest Shaman have a good chance of being favored here. If there's a Kalimos in this deck, then that's just another way of getting everything off of the board. Dealing 3 damage to all minions, that's usually enough to clear everything, unless there's been a Doppelgangster evolve.
All right, so Singapore actually has a fairly clunky hand in the opening. The Jade Claws could do work in kind of clearing some of the minions in the early game, but because Malaysia's version of Shaman, the Token Shaman, can generally put out a bunch of small minions, Jade Claws isn't necessarily getting as much bang for its buck.
Unless Malaysia go ahead and play this Bloodsail Corsair on turn 1. If they do that, then the Jade Claws are going to do just fine. It's going to deal with the Bloodsail Corsair, and the 1/1 will contest the Pirate. Also, it'll make Chonga feel silly for playing it and wasting the weapon destruction there. Chonga's start, other than the Bloodsail Corsair, isn't that fast himself. I'd call that a clunky hand too.
No, they both teams have kind of clunky hands here. Now, I spoke to Malaysia a little bit too. You know, I don't want it to seem like I was just talking to Singapore, but Malaysia really felt actually pretty good about their record coming out of stage 1, and you can't blame them, right? They finished 4-1, so they were actually tied with some of the best teams in the world in their record. They had a match score of 13-8, which is, again, fairly impressive.
That's really good, yeah.
So when I asked them, you know, are you going to make any changes to how you approach these games, they were just like, I guess we're going to try a little harder, you know? Just kind of... Because that's the thing with Hearthstone, right? It's when you think like, okay, well, how do we improve and how do we get better? It's not like, you know, in Here's a Storm, you can say, okay, well, I got to work on this particular character, and then I'm certainly just over time getting better mastery. Like, yes, in Hearthstone, there are gains that you make through playing a bunch. We obviously saw Orange, right? Orange took a week off from streaming and kind of hanging out with anybody and just sat in his room for a week practicing Hearthstone.
Yep.
One DreamHack summer, but the gains come a lot more slowly, and they're a lot more meticulous, and perhaps most importantly, you have to know what you're looking at. So Malaysia is just very straightforward. You know, just like, hey, we're gonna keep trying hard, we're gonna bring good lists, and we're gonna try to win, but they're not necessarily trying to make it seem like they have some ace up their sleeves like Singapore is.
Just working quietly behind the scenes, not taking the limelight.
Yeah.
But when they get to the finals, if they get to the finals, I should say, then they'll be taking the limelight.
One thing that's super cool about Malaysia is because so many of them are members of MA Gaming, you know, they have some infrastructure there already. You know, they have, I want to say, a team admin, team coach who I speak to fairly regularly.
Yeah.
And, you know, she's also working to help them make sure that they get all their stuff done, whereas a lot of the teams in the Hearthstone Global Games are just kind of the 4 players of their respective region, just having to do it also. Malaysia actually in a pretty good spot, I think, to be successful, not just in this game, but throughout the duration of the tournament.
And we've seen that from a few of the successful teams in stage 1 of the tournament. Italy being another one with 3 out of the 4 teams, the players all play for the same team.
Right.
So they're used to communicating with each other. And I think we've had that from Russia as well. These guys are used to communicating with each other. So there are definitely advantages in the team-based tournaments to having spent time playing games together previously. It means that you've got your flow, you've got a strategy already.
You know who to make fun of. Who's that one person on your team that you're always just going to make fun of? You don't have to figure that out. You know already. Meanwhile, in the game here, though, not a whole lot going on. We spoke to the fact that both teams kind of had clunky hands. We did see the Jade Claws come out from Singapore. Just go ahead and clean up the Bloodsail Corsair and the patches. Get a little bit of value there, but both teams are kind of waiting to get to their big turns. We can see here from Malaysia that there's just a very much potential for them to just go Bloodsail Corsair Hero Power, or they could put down the Manatide Totem if they think that the Manatide Totem is going to survive. Up until this point, I would expect them to believe that they're just playing against another Token Shaman.
Right. Yeah, but the Hero Power here on turn 3 is definitely very, very slow. Going to be giving some things away now. Now, Crumpled needs to get rid of this Manatide Totem somehow. Well, guess he doesn't. Guess
anything you can do. Now, that said, they are going into the Jade Lightning turn for Malaysia, which they are aware of.
Yeah.
I imagine that's just what we're going to see here.
Look at that. The Fire Plume Phoenix in Singapore's hand. Going to do a good job at dealing with something. It deals 2 damage. As you were saying earlier, a lot of these minions have 2 health, so it's going to get some value.
Yeah, it's worth noting that Fire Plume Phoenix, originally when the elementals were first revealed, people were really looking at Tolvir Stone Shaper to be that 4 spot, but one of the big issues with it is that it breaks the elemental chain.
Exactly, yeah.
So it's kind of, okay, if we want to have something that leads very organically into Servant of Kalamos, okay, what do we use to actually activate that? Fire Plume Phoenix, it seems like it should be flashier for what it does. A lot of the cards that do damage upon coming in are very highly valued. Fire Plume Phoenix, though, for its cost, is just a little bit awkward in terms of what you actually get in stats. So it hasn't really kind of had that takeoff.
Understated, but I guess, as you say, the fact that it's an elemental itself, it's making up for it, at least in Singapore's eyes. Here, it still kind of is an anti-aggro card. So maybe it is just better at its job than Tolvir Stone Shaper, unless you're playing Quest Rogue.
All right, so there's a Maelstrom Portal Flame Tongue Totem, it looks like, and that was the call, aside from the potential for just Jade Lightning.
Crumpled has to devolve this, doesn't he? This is a horrible board. You can't let the Manatide Totem live. You can't let the Flame Tongue Totem live. You don't really want to give your opponent one of your cards and give away exactly what deck you are.
And I think after you drew the Tar Creeper, you feel better because the rest of the turn actually rounded out pretty nicely. Now, Night Juggler, not bad.
No.
Actually not a bad thing to get off Devolve.
No, it may only be a 2/2 now, but still has its effect. Patches is still in the deck, right?
Patches is not in the deck. Bloodsail, yeah. Corsair was played, so.
The one on the far left was played, of course. So, okay, not quite as many juggles as I was thinking. We're getting a bit
Stonehill Defender into Pompous Thespian. Got him.
Even better, a Stonehill Defender into Shield Bearer plus Bloodsail Corsair.
That's double got him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Life comes at you fast. This is, just seeing Singapore's deck, though, this is one of my favorite things about the Southeast Asian region in general. When I was casting the Hearthstone Championship Tour a lot last year, we had the opportunity to see the Asia Pacific playoffs,
right? And
I got to cast those, and I was always just looking over the deck lists. It always just blew my mind, some of the things we saw, because they have their own very distinct styles.
Look at that. Even the Totem will do it.
Oh, just there we go.
Jade Lightning, going to spawn another 1/1. Actually, that was a bit of a wasted knife there, as it happens.
Okay, that one not so much. Good job, Knife Juggler.
Yeah. He knows exactly where he's throwing those things. Bloodlust not going to do much here. It's funny that he's actually running it. It's an elemental shaman that runs Bloodlust.
That is actually just fairly weird to me. Now, what I'm really curious about, I cannot imagine that they have 2 Bloodlusts in this deck. This is, one Bloodlust is kind of a weird, like, one-off win condition.
Yeah.
Obviously, it doesn't work in Token Shaman because you actually just want to win the game with Bloodlust, so you're running 2, and you're basically accepting that sometimes you have clunky draws where you have double Bloodlust. But even 1 Bloodlust in this deck, that surprises me.
It's just so good as a one-off win condition in Shaman because it's spawning these totems every turn. Unlike Druid, where Savage Roar is not good in every Druid deck because you don't always have stuff to put on the board, Shaman always does, and also Kalamos plus Bloodlust can just be a 2-card win condition if your opponent can't deal with the 1/1s.
Yeah, I was going to say, Kalamos sometimes just played as Onyxia.
Exactly.
So, yeah. Very curious to see what the early game of this deck looks like, as well as the board sweeps. I feel like Lightning Storm has to be in this deck somewhere.
Yeah.
But it's not here yet, and Chang'e and Malaysia just, they're like, okay, well, we're just going to do the thing this deck does.
I have no idea whether to expect a Volcano or not from this deck. I feel like it could be in there, but then if you're trying to curve out with the elementals, you don't want to interrupt a turn.
Yeah, while we're just sitting here chatting, I mean, this is representing lethal with the Bloodlust.
Oh boy. Okay, so Crumpled gonna need to find a way of getting rid of this board, and fast. Servant of Kalamos not gonna do it.
Unless you can Servant of Kalamos into a two-mana Twisting Nether.
Is it still lethal through Thing from Below? I don't think it can be.
And Fire Plume Harbinger, if you're just choosing to think, okay, there's no... Well, even then, it wouldn't actually discount all that much.
He's dead if he doesn't take the shard.
Yeah.
He has to take the shard and use up Thing from Below, but I doubt he will do that.
I was thinking Harbinger might have been good, but it actually doesn't necessarily change much in terms of... Because you're going into turn 8 anyway.
Yeah.
And you have access to the Kalamos. Okay.
Gonna play around Bloodlust at least a little bit there.
Yeah, this is
22 damage.
Yeah, this is a one-off.
And if there was space on the board, it would be lethal.
Can you... If you trade in one of the things, does that change anything?
Yeah.
Pretty sure it does. I'm pretty sure it's just lethal.
Because you add 4 damage. You take away 3, but you add 4.
Yeah.
And it's 1-off lethal, so... yeah, that'll do it.
It's true. When we join forces, the different countries, we can accomplish great things. We can figure out very simple lethal scenarios. Look at that. Hey, no, bring it in. High five over here, buddy.
It would be bad now if it wasn't lethal.
Yeah, we would look real dumb. Look, I think 4 is just one more than 3, right? Yeah. Sometimes we get there.
Chang'e gonna take game number 1 though. For Malaysia, solid start for them.
Let's talk about how Singapore's like, yeah, they're bringing cool decks, and then Malaysia's like, but this is why you bring the good decks. I mean, obviously the draw for Singapore was a little bit clunky. We never got to see what the early game suite actually looked like or the removal suite, but
that's the problem with the deck. It's just not consistent enough. Whereas the Evolved Shaman is super consistent because most of your cards are 1, 2, and 3 drop.
I was gonna say when you're
spawn more totems.
When 70% of your deck is things that cost 3 or less mana.
Exactly.
Turns out it's pretty hard to draw a truly, and they had a clunky start.
You can get hands full of Doppelgangsters and Evolves and Ayers and just things you can't play, but it's so unlikely compared to the Elemental Shaman, where this start is quite common. So I guess we shouldn't be too surprised with the result there.
Yeah, absolutely. So we see there, Malaysia now up 1-0. Up next is going to be Gilgamesh on that Paladin versus Sequinox with the Mage. Now, Sequinox playing the Mage, he's generally the guy who's piloting the more difficult to play decks. And I don't know that it's necessarily because he himself is just in a vacuum the best player on the team, but he's certainly the most confident. You get that feel talking to him. Again, they went down 0-2 in stage 1, and he kind of called a huddle, and he's like, okay, guys, how do we fix this?
With Kazakus Priest, that's how he...
Yeah, with Kazakus Priest, he's got a billboard, and he's like, no, guys, no, pay attention. Kazakus Priest. I don't... But it worked, and Sequinox has certainly been the one we've been interviewing. He's the most outspoken, so if he's on that Mage, I have to think it's certainly something more geared towards control as opposed to aggression.
So I was gonna say, if you think difficult deck, what do you think with Mage? Do you still think Freeze Mage is the hardest Mage deck to play?
I don't think
it's as hard as it used to be.
No, it isn't anymore. The math breakpoints are much easier.
Yeah.
The sign that it's easier to play is that I can play it.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing.
I couldn't play old Freeze Mage. I'm like, Matt, taking a nap instead. But I do think Freeze Mage is just strictly worse than Burn Mage right now.
Right.
The Burn Mage that George C. posted is just, it's all, at least in North America, it's all over ladder.
And look at it this way as well. If it's George C. playing Burn Mage and not playing Freeze Mage himself, then that definitely shows you something, as George C. is a Freeze Mage player.
Ooh, Sequinox with the collared shirt today. He's up in his game.
I'm loving the white background as well. I know it speaks to me.
You realize mental asylums have white backgrounds. Why is that speaking to you?
It looks like he's been purified. I don't know.
Again, mental asylum, that's literally what they look like. A little less padding on the walls maybe, but...
Guess I should probably just leave the cast.
I was going to say, casting with you for the first time, I'm learning a lot. Yeah, but normally he's repping the shirt he wears for his team, so he's got that collar shirt. He's dressing up for the start of stage 2. It's, you got a little pomp and circumstance.
We're trying to start it off with a bang. They're trying to start it off with a bang.
Yeah, it's true. I did forget my shirt, so I went to a Polish mall at the recommendation of production and bought this, which I can only assume is a European cut. That's what I'm telling people. I think it makes me seem more exotic.
Well, there you go.
Bringing it back. Core's going to be really impressed.
Trying the new things.
Yeah.
You're going to wear it on Thursday?
I don't think I'm casting on Thursday. I get back at Thursday at like midnight.
All right.
Yeah.
I was going to say it'd be a long journey.
There's actually some special guest casters on Thursday night, so I hope you all are excited. Well, I'll tell you, one of them has a great dad bod.
Okay.
Yep. That's all I'll say. All right, what we see here, it looks like it's going to be just Freeze Mage. The Frost Nova kind of a giveaway, because generally the Burn Mage has cut the Frost Nova Doomsayer parts and just leverages the Volcanic Potion to deal with the early boards.
Yeah, there was one at DreamHack. I don't remember exactly who it was, but someone brought, I think it was Zump actually. He brought a Freeze Mage, Discover Mage crossbreed.
Yeah.
It was just basically a Gunther Mage, but it had Frost Nova Doomsayer. I doubt that we're going to see that here. It seems pretty unlikely to me. It's looking...
I don't know. It is Sequinox in Singapore. It could be any number of things.
But it is, as you say, it is looking like a Freeze Mage, which should mean that he's in a good position against this Paladin. Although the Paladin's not too aggressive, as we can see Stonehill Defender. I think it depends how much healing's in this deck, really.
Well, it depends. There's basically two different factors there you would consider. There's sliding scales for the aggression, and then there's sliding scales for the healing. We do see, from at least what is available now in the hand and on the board, that Malaysia appears to be playing what is more kind of that mid-range style. The Murlocs are there, but there's not Grimscale Chum, there's not Grimscale Oracle, there's not Divine Favor. This is just more about having like the potential for a strong early game before going into the later stages of Tarim, Spike Ridge Steed, Ragnaros Light Lord Tyrion, and that appears to be what Gilgamesh is playing right now.
Okay. I think he'll struggle to deal with any Frost Nova Doomsayer turns.
If this deck runs a quality, well, it depends on
isn't it?
Well, I was going to say, it depends on very much on a deck-to-deck basis.
Yeah.
I think last time I was really playing this deck, the list I was using was 1.
Firelands Portal? Firelands Portal is not a Freeze Mage card.
This actually speaks to just how good Mage is.
Yeah.
Because you actually have the option to build so many different ways, and you have so many good tools. I mean, this could just be like a Freeze Mage deck with one Firelands Portal at the top end.
It's certainly one of the most versatile, if not the most versatile class, because it's got such a versatile hero power. You can put it wherever you want. Put it in your own face if you want to. I don't think anyone's ever done that, but...
I mean, you could.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mental Asylum.
Fancy.
Daniel.
It's a nice way to concede, right?
Uh-huh.
Just in your own face. This is not a good Stonehill Defender. This is about as below average as you can get on Stonehill Defender for a Paladin.
Yeah, this is just straight up the Stonehill Defender you found out back in the dumpster. He came back with some stuff you don't really want. You're like, where's my Tyrion?
4 mana 3/3, more expensive Evil Heckler. Yeah.
Yeah. Non-power creeped Evil Heckler. Yeah, these are some pretty subpar choices, but if you have to take one, there are weapons in the deck, so Dread Corsair could get that tempo value.
Yeah.
Fen Creeper, I think, yeah, 3/6 would taunt. There was nothing here that really felt like super cool to me, to be honest, to take.
I think I agree with you actually on the Bloodsail Corsair.
Yeah, but you don't have the weapon right
Dread
now,
Corsair,
so it's like you have to draw into the True Silver to get that value.
Yeah.
Whereas I think he was just looking at the curve. But again, it's one of those things where on turn 5 you're probably just playing Finja, which is another inclusion that isn't an auto inclusion.
Oh, Finja with Spike Ridge Steed going to be very strong. But this is again where I'm wondering, when is this Booty Bay Bodyguard going to come down? I was thinking Fen Creeper would be better because you could just play that on 6, but now Spike Ridge Steed. Yeah, just a dumpster Stonehill Defender.
All right, well, it's still just Murloc stuff going on. One thing to consider, Booty Bay Bodyguard versus the Fen Creeper. Oh, okay.
I'm out. I'm out.
Thanks, Sequinox.
So it is it's very similar to Zump's deck. It's this hybrid freeze Gunther Mage.
Yeah.
Wait, did that run Medivh? I need to very quickly check my notes.
Quick, to Google.
Not quite Google, but
right.
No, without Medivh. Zump's deck did not have Medivh. So
the only reason I know this isn't a Kazakus deck is because I see 2 ice blocks. Otherwise, for Sequinox, I would just 110% believe this could probably just actually be a Kazakus deck. All right, so I like the ice block here.
yeah, I think it's ice block almost every time.
Potion of Polymorph I also would have liked there because you can set it up later in the game and basically say like, okay, when I know you have like 1 or 2 cards, one of them's probably a Tyrion or a Tarim or just something good in terms of just a tempo win.
I was thinking maybe he's trying to get a Spike Ridge Steed from this mana bind, but the problem is when you play a secret going into turn 6, not only is Gilgamesh going to be afraid of Counterspell, he's going to be afraid of Spellbender.
Yeah.
So I think after the secret goes down, this randomly generated secret. There's no way Malaysia plays Spike Ridge Steed until they've procced the secret at all.
Yeah, and that's even knowing that this is probably not the sort of deck that's running Spellbender. For that, you tend to see Kirin Tormage, you tend to see Cabal Crystal Runner.
Yeah.
All right, so one thing that I started to talk about earlier, but it's interesting to me, Booty Bay Bodyguard versus Fen Creeper. Now, both die to Fireball. You see here, obviously, that takes out the Booty Bay Bodyguard, but Fen Creeper doesn't die to Frostbolt Ping. And I guess the read from Gilgamesh is that he wanted to be a little bit more aggressive, and the 5 attack on the Booty Bay Bodyguard was what he was valuing.
Doesn't die to a Flame Strike either, which most Murlocs do.
Yeah.
The Fen Creeper.
I mean, it's basically saying, you know, what do you value there out of your choices? And I'm guessing he valued the attack.
Now, we were talking about dances earlier with Warrior versus Shaman, but now Malaysia having to dance around the secret. You see that very quick attack to the face there, and now, okay, stop. What is it? What do we need to play out? Right, it's not Mirror Entity, not Vaporize, not Ice Barrier, not Mirror Entity. What's next?
Yeah, he knows it came off the Glyph, too, because it was 1 mana.
Yeah.
So, it might just be a 3rd Ice block, but... Oh, wow, the Grimscale... Buffing that up to 5 health. Yeah, there was no chance for Flame Strike this turn anyway.
No.
But going into next turn, that definitely makes the Flame Strike awkward.
So Sequinox could Frost Nova to save himself 6 damage, but that doesn't seem great. I prefer just Ice Barrier here. Could take the turn to just develop these secrets, Ice Barrier, Ice Block.
Nah, you could play 1, just ping off from Murloc.
Yeah.
Because I don't think you're on the Flame Strike plan anymore because the Finja has 5 health.
Yeah.
So I think if you're going to play a secret, you play 1, and then you could dig with Glyph. I like just getting damage off the board.
Yeah.
Yeah, just ping the Chum there.
Yeah, makes sense to me. Made sense to Singapore. Second Murloc War Leader picked up there. So Gilgamesh can play Rallying Blade with the War Leader. That seems pretty strong. Spike Ridge Steed is so risky because he still has no idea what that first secret is.
It could be 3rd block. It could be Mana Bind. It could be Counterspell. It could be Spellbender.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's more options than not lead to this being a bad thing for you.
Yeah, if you play the Spike Ridge Steed now and it's Spellbender, you just lose the game almost flat out.
It definitely makes it more difficult to win the game. Even Mana Bind, though, I'm thinking the free Spike Ridge Steed. We look at Singapore's hand. The only minion they have is Medivh. And I just want to point out that if they play it after playing the Medivh, then they get a 0 mana minion. They just get a Wisp.
Yeah. Okay, testing with Consecration.
Okay.
Give Sequinox the Consecration.
Now this is actually really good too because then you can pair this with the Flame Strike.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
7 mana, 6 damage, board clear.
Pretty good. I play it.
Yeah. Again, as you say, really Sequinox is going to want to play it before he plays the Medivh or after the Atiesh is used up because you don't want to just give yourself a Wisp if you can help it. Oh man, the board clear potential here.
I think you're doing it.
Not now?
Well, okay, so one thing to consider is Finja is really only scary when you have minions on board.
But with the amount of damage you've got with this board clear, I think you can wait until your opponent's
I was going to say.
And then just deal with it.
I think there are a lot of situations where you look at this and you're like, okay, great, I got to get Finja off the board, but since you yourself are not playing any minions until Medivh, maybe you just feel like, and whatever comes off of the Finja, you could just get rid of anyway, because again, you have Flame Strike, Consecration.
Yeah. I think I like Molten Reflection here. He's going to go Cabal Stone. I was thinking, you can play Medivh and then the following turn play Flame Strike and Molten Reflection, whatever the biggest minion you get is.
Sure.
You get a huge board.
I mean, Cabal's Tomes, it seems like the most Sequinox pick imaginable.
It's fine. His hand's a little bit full to use it at the moment, but soon he should get the chance. There's Rag Light Lord. That's going to be the biggest threat, probably the biggest threat in the deck for Singapore to have to worry about. But with Medivh, he's not going to be too worried about the healing.
Could heal that Vile Inquisitor, true. Yeah, it would heal something. You're at 30 health, but help out your friends.
Yeah, it doesn't come down this turn.
Yeah.
You expect that secret to be... Well, what do you expect it to be? Mirror... well, you don't expect it to be Mirror Entity.
No, you saw it played for full cost.
Yeah, and you've already seen an Ice Barrier, so...
Yeah. I think you're probably okay with thinking it's barrier or block.
Do you play around Counterspell as well, though? A lot of these Gunther mages are running it.
I mean, when he played it, were there 2 secrets down when he played the Consecration?
Yeah, you're right. The Consecration was played since this was put... Oh, no, the Ice Book was only just played.
Okay, yeah, there we go. See it right there. Yeah, so I think you do actually play around it. Spike Steed is just too much to lose,
Yeah.
but the other thing is, until you get another spell, you can't actually proc it, so that might be a consideration. Like, when am I going to have another cheap spell?
Yeah.
I don't know. I wouldn't have hated the Spike Ridge Steed there. Start pushing damage. I mean, you're playing Ragnaros, though, which is also going to push damage, so...
Well, this is a pretty obvious turn, I think.
Yep.
The Flame Strike Consecration board clear doesn't actually deal with Rag Light Lord, so Fireball plus Consecration was an option, but this just seems much better. And
Ooh.
hello, second Primordial, or third Primordial Glyph.
Yeah. Yep.
If only there was the mana to play Shatter.
Everyone's really excited about Primordial Glyph, and Shadow's like, I'm a card too.
I also cost 2 mana.
Primordial Glyph is like the sibling you have that just goes to college. They get like a great job, and, and sometimes you're just sitting in your room and you feel like Shatter. You're just like, oh man,
That's really deep.
I wish someone was excited about me.
Oh, Tareem is an option here. We've got the Tentacle and Psychotron. Got Flash up very quickly.
And yeah, Malaysia's just going to go ahead and make a Murloc to send to the slaughter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most important thing about that discover, I think, was just the fact that Tareem was there. Like,
It wasn't the bad ones they had earlier.
it's just the best pick most of the time, unless there's a Terry in there sometimes. Rag Light Lord is gone now, and Singapore can really go on the offensive here.
This was the easiest call in the world, too. It's like, well, clear board, mana to play Medivh. Don't mind if I do.
They've got Firelands Portal to play next turn. Can't play this Molten Reflection with it because it doesn't have the discount. But I imagine it will find a target at some point. Gilgamesh is really going to struggle to win this game.
Yeah, he's certainly very much behind. The resources generated by Sequinox through the Kabbalah's Tome and the resources he's had naturally, the extra consecration he got for free.
Yeah.
He's just got a lot going for him right now, and Malaysia pretty much had to really be the aggressor in this matchup.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's necessarily over. I believe it's over.
I believe it is too, though Malaysia can now play around the counterspell by dropping down the Hydrologist and using the secret straight away. Then if counterspell, it doesn't matter, if counterspell does go off, great. If it doesn't, that's fine. You still play Spike Rich Steed. You're not playing around Spellbender, not when there's a Medivh in the deck.
I mean, one thing to be considerate of, though, is, I mean, Spike Ridge Steed, A, by itself, is actually not going to do that much, realistically.
Wow, that's true.
And if you're playing it before the Tarim, you're basically saying, I'm not playing Tarim until this is dealt with. Which maybe isn't a big deal. Maybe you're going to want to go wider on the board.
Well, yeah, next turn you can hero
Eye for an
power.
eye. Yep.
That's no good just yet.
Ooh, Alex Straza.
That is pretty good, though.
All right, not enough damage over the next 2 turns. I don't think he's got 5, 12.
This is just fine. Develop a huge board, play the Firelands Portal, you get 2 more minions, you clear that away. A 5/5 and a 5/6, sure. That's fine. That's okay stats. Next turn you can Alex and probably win a turn or 2 after.
I was going to say, this actually just feels like a much safer way to go because
Yeah.
you don't actually have the burn in hand over 2 turns, I don't think. Yeah, you have 5, 6. The Consecration makes 13 pings.
Gilgamesh
You could do it over 2 turns, but
Gilgamesh has an okay Tareem here.
yeah.
He can play either both Murlocs in his hand or his hero power and the Valfin Inquisitor. Drop Tareem, trade away one of the minions. It's not horrible, but just looking at how strong Sequonix's hand is, I just don't see a way that Malaysia come back.
Well, we can just go ahead and see here the Tareem just reduces the total power on the board. The Rallying Blade allows them to deal with the minion, so kind of one last push on the board is the way they're looking at this situation. And that's Don Honcho.
That is sadly a pretty poor minion for 7 mana because the majority of its power comes from its battle cry from the hand. Of course, you don't get that when it comes from a randomly generated effect, so not one of the best picks.
Nah, Grimy Goons in general had some very real issues, unfortunately.
They weren't quite able to control gadgets then. All right, sure, just clear up the board again.
Ooh.
Prophet Velen!
That is
Oh.
pretty good.
Oh my.
Gilgamesh saying, okay. Well, okay. I mean, it isn't... there are a lot of situations in Hearthstone where moments like this arise. The game is honestly already pretty locked up for Singapore.
Sequonix could even Consecration for 4 here. That is an option. I don't think you want to because you can Alex Straza later, but
No, Sequinox is one of those players who, from what I've seen of him, and this is something he said they need to work to overcome, the plays aren't always necessarily rooted in, like, what's the best play. They like having fun. They like having a good time with their decks.
Consecration definitely looks fun to me here.
Time runs out on me.
Yeah, do you want to use the Glyph first is the question. because you'd get a better
Yeah,
minion.
Well, as long as you don't get Doomsayer,
Okay.
that's the risk.
No, you're just going to go ahead and save it. It looks like here they do have the Fireball or the Molten Reflection, so they could be looking at a situation next turn where they Molten Reflection the Velen, and then just win through that.
So, right, it doubles the damage twice. The Fireballs are dealing 24. Oh my goodness.
Well,
unless Eye for an Eye does. No, Eye for an Eye doesn't do anything.
Oh, Deathwing.
What?
It's not super weird to see a random Deathwing in Paladin.
We've seen a Nixie, I think, in Zalay's Star Ladder deck, mid-range Paladin, just because you can grab it with the Curator, and it helps. It sets up your Turim.
Yeah, generally the dragons in this that would be pulled off Curator would just be Primordial Drake, but Deathwing obviously extremely powerful, and perhaps more importantly has a flashy new animation.
It does. That is more important.
I think that is. Okay, well, I really, really badly want to see Molten Reflection.
Equinox is already in hysterics. This is going to happen right now. Play the Consecration as well, why not?
Feels amazing, man. Chat, this is it. This is what you watch for. Whew. Oh my goodness.
Ah, no Consecration there.
24 damage Fireball. No remorse for human life. Sequinox just 360 windmill slammed Malaysia.
Oh, wow. I've got no words. I do wish the Consecration was played too, just to really rub it in.
Yeah.
A little bit of BM. Maybe Frostbolt own face. Like Consecration, Frostbolt own
There were a
face.
lot of ways, there are a lot of lines there in terms of how you could have BM'd your opponent. But
I've definitely never seen that. I've never seen a 24 damage Fireball.
nope, that is
From Malagos.
new to me.
Anything.
You don't need Malagos, you just need Velens and Mage, and then a second Velens off of Molten Reflection.
I'm just really glad that Prophet Velen isn't a Mage card right now, because that would be filthy.
Mage right now doesn't need more things. Anyway, taking a look at that match, fairly straightforward. You know, Sequinox had inevitability on his side. Gilgamesh was going to have to make something happen early, and everything he did was just pretty much checked leading up to the Doomsayer Frostnova turn.
Right.
Worth noting, I don't think that Gilgamesh was playing around that, because mostly Frostnova and Doomsayer have been largely, seemed like they've been phased out of Mage decks, and what he was seeing led him to believe, like, okay, this could just be Burn Mage. So, played really heavily into the Doomsayer Frostnova, and yeah, he really had to get a little bit of a faster grip on that game.
It's quite a coincidence, really, because I was saying how, you know, Zump, he did very, very well at DreamHack last weekend, and he was playing a kind of similar deck, no Medivh, but same idea, Gunther Mage with Frostnova Doomsayer, and it's just, you know, like, he had that idea, and they're doing that in this game. Maybe there is something there.
I'm curious if he has 2 copies of each, actually. Generally, when you see that combo, it's so powerful in Freeze Mage decks that you would run 2 copies.
Well,
but
you kind of have to, because otherwise, if you just get the Frostnova, it's not quite as impactful. That being said, it is a very strong card in its own right.
I mean, yeah, I was gonna say Doomsayer is still something that you would mulligan for in the early game to deal with aggro. So, I kind of hope we get Sequinox on the interview. I'm not rooting against Malaysia, but I feel like my interviews with Sequinox now are more just like, what are you doing?
Right.
Yeah.
But it's very interesting to look into the mind of a player like that. It's like interviewing Jackie Chan when he plays something that's incredibly different from everything else we've ever seen. Like, so how did you come up with this? Like, it's good to actually talk to the people.
No, it is very good to see the mindsets.
Ooh.
We're going to see Game 3 is going to be a Warrior Mirror only. These Warriors are a little different. It is Pirate versus Quest Warrior.
I don't even know if I'd call this a mirror at this stage.
I mean, they're both playing the same class.
All right.
We get there.
Both playing Garrosh.
Yeah, I heard the Bring It On as we were going, and I was like, ooh.
No Magnes.
Okay, so this particular matchup, I think, really spirals out of control for the Quest Warrior if the early taunts are not there, or the early removal in general. Dirty Rat, are you feeling lucky? Dirty Rat is kind of the card here that can make or break if you keep it on the mulligan. If it pulls out something, that's manageable, a small pirate, like, okay, you're good, maybe even N'Zoth's first mate that would just normally generate a weapon, then you're feeling okay about it. But there's certainly certain draws that can work against you.
I think you do play it on turn 2 because you expect, like here, for example, Lala Song's going to throw away these big cards. And you expect there to be mostly smaller minions in the Pirate Warrior's hand.
I mean, it's worth noting, do you even think this is a Pirate Warrior, though? This could just be Quest Warrior that you're playing against. It could be the mirror.
Well, you find out very fast. Like, there's no reason not to play the Quest on turn 1. And then now, like, we either see a 1-drop Pirate or a 2-drop Pirate. The only thing that Malaysia can do, which doesn't give it away, is coin out Fiery War Axe. And even then, it's like, if it's Quest Warrior, that probably would have just come down.
I mean, I agree with playing the quest since you kept it. I guess my concern is more, do you feel comfortable enough that this is... Because against aggro, you generally don't want to keep the quest. Like,
Right,
did you feel comfortable enough that this was also a quest warrior? Because you are depriving yourself of a resource, which is actually a big deal in this matchup.
I don't think it's a case of feeling comfortable enough. I think it's a case of, if you're against another quest warrior and they keep the quest and you don't, you lose the game.
You're so you're so far behind.
So it's sort of a case of having to keep the quests because, like, sure, you have a better chance against the Pirate Warrior if you don't, but if you do, if you do throw it away, but you also just lose in the mirror.
All right, so Malaysia there didn't necessarily admit that they were Pirate Warrior on that turn by equipping the Fiery War Axe.
They made the only play that didn't give it away.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, they kind of did because it's a Quest Warrior. I think you seldomly just coin out a Fiery War Axe against another Quest Warrior. So they kind of softed.
Yeah.
But if you want to be technical, it could have been a mind game.
Yeah.
But now NVX working on full information that this is, in fact, a Pirate Warrior.
So what is he going to do about it is the question. Ravaging Ghoul is the obvious play, I think, gets rid of patches, but unfortunately the War Axe is just going to tear through it, and then Bloodcell Raider are going to start hitting face in chunks of 5.
Well, you can play the Ravaging Ghoul here. Yeah, you're going to take some damage from the Raider, but if you play down the Dirty Rat and you don't hit anything huge, you've softened up the Raider to be a 5-2 at least, so you get through it.
And Malaysia still have Sassy Decken in hand, as we can see, so there is a chance that this Dirty Rat ends up being very beneficial. However, 2 out of 3 of those minions are pretty big.
You can go into Dirty Rat here and then just basically say you're on the Brawl. You are 100% on the Brawl on 5.
Yeah.
I think I'm okay with that, because I don't... Worst case scenario, they still have to get through your Dirty Rat. So I actually just like that here.
Let's see what it pulls out. It is going to be the deckhand, so rewarded, and the chance to Whirlwind was there, but it looks like you're right, he's just waiting for the Brawl.
Well, depending, now that the Salsi deckhand has been pulled out, maybe you kind of reevaluate it, but I mean, you're still facing down a lot of pressure, especially after whatever comes down on this turn from Malaysia.
Right.
Because you could be looking at a full investment of a Dread Corsair into a Naga Corsair, although, after seeing the Dirty Rat, I feel like you are pretty good to not invest into this board too much more. See if they have the Brawl first.
Right, yeah, of course. But the longer they give the Taunt Warrior, the more time they've got to play these Primordial Drakes to draw their Sleep with the Fishes, etc.
Well, this is like kind of the halfway play that I wanted. He played a minion, and the Brawl's going to remove 2 things, but you're still pushing a fair bit of damage. You have the Mortal Strike, you have the Dread Corsair follow-up. I mean, I just didn't want to see the Dread Corsair come down until you had established if there was a Brawl or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is, for what you actually want here, I think this is the best case scenario. You're just looking to go ahead and just make the finishing push here.
Well, there you go. 5 damage sticks. Fiery War Axe is still 4. Naga Corsair can buff that up, and you can drop Dread Corsair as well. This is a tornado of a start for Lala Song.
You're like, which natural phenomenon best?
Yeah, much.
A gentle breeze? No.
Tsunami? Nah, Warrior's a little bit too fiery for that.
Sure. A tornado. There we go.
Yeah.
Yep.
There should be a Hearthstone card called Tornado.
Yeah, the game is young. We may yet get there. I would assume it'll be a Druid spell, based on what I understand.
Yeah. That sounds good.
Yep. Now they have Hurricane. That's what it was. Yeah. All right. There are a couple different ways you could approach this turn. So one consideration is, did you want to get your... If the board were to be cleared here, you don't actually get Salsi Captain value. But I think just getting the value on the weapon right now and putting the 5-4 on the board as well as the 3-3, because odds are one of the pirates is going to survive, and then you're still getting Salsi Captain value.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of getting more damage on the board now.
Whoa! NV gonna try and get Sleep with the Fishes here, realizing it's his only out.
Yeah.
He gets it!
Job's done. I don't think it... No, it does. It saves him.
It just saves him. Bloodhoof Brave plus Hero Power wouldn't have been enough.
Yeah, so it's...
Amazing.
You know what?
Happy he is.
No, and I love to see that. I love to see people who play to outs.
Yeah.
And they realize, hey, this is the only way I survive and don't die here. So, rewarded there.
You could argue that it was risky. He didn't know there was a Mortal Strike in his opponent's hand and maybe could have gone with the safest play, which is Bloodhoof Brave Hero Power. But as we can all see, heavily rewarded for that risky play. And now Dirty Rat plus Bloodhoof Brave will just allow him to survive for that little bit longer.
And there's a very real world where unless there's a second Mortal Strike coming out soon.
NV is just clawing his way back into this game.
Yeah, realistically, I think his best window is to draw a second Mortal Strike on the next turn and win the game right there. Otherwise, I don't know. I don't see a way for him to win this. So you clear, okay, you're going to clear one of the 2 6s here. I'm guessing you're just going to go ahead and clear the Blood of Brave. You go ahead and clear that.
Yeah, but that's...
I was trying to think if there's any, but you need multiple draws to chain things together. And you're on one draw, like you could get like Leroy Spellbreaker, but again, that's going to require 2 draws.
Yeah, this is really slowed down for Lala Song here. These taunts are doing their job.
Yeah, the big Sleep with the Fishes came through.
Is there any... So I guess he just holds on to the South Sea. No, he's going to play it.
Yeah, with the buff you get from South Sea Captain, pushes damage into the Blood of Brave, and then you get to keep the...
That's not...
Now, if he's going to use his weapon,
that's
still sequencing
still
wrong.
not the correct sequencing. Taking more damage from that for no reason. Not that it doesn't really matter.
Well, maybe you're trying to get your health lower.
Oh, okay. Sure.
I'm just saying it could be potentially something you're thinking about.
Yeah, you're not wrong, but the Mortal Strike now only deals 6 damage, and obviously NV's armored up out of range. That was inevitable.
Sure.
So
it might have given you a little bit more time, and then maybe it's a situation where your opponent does put you into...
Yeah, you're right, and it's unlikely that it costs you a turn. Because
like, your health is kind of a non-factor here.
When
you
the
lose
warrior,
the game because you can't finish off the warrior.
And when the warrior starts to get a big board, they're going to be dealing more than chunks of 4 damage. So I guess it just doesn't matter.
All right, that needed to be second Mortal Strike. It is not second Mortal Strike, and one Blood with Brave, but another pops up in its place, and the walls just keep coming from XNVX.
There's still time for a second Mortal Strike. Like, Lala Song can just, I guess, play the Frothing Berserker because there's no reason not to play it. Just armor up and just wait. If he even runs a second Mortal Strike. A lot of these lists only run 1.
Yeah, some have cut it completely.
Yeah. Guess the only benefit to holding on to it is just to keep NV guessing what it could be. That's just not a viable strategy here. And look at that. Malaysia going to change the strategy here, going to try and clear the board. Frothing Berserker there. If that hits the face, it could just be lethal. Oh, it's not going to hit the face though.
Ooh.
It's just not going to hit the face. The Ravaging Ghoul plus Execute.
No, it's going to hit the floor instead and just... yeah.
Oh, man.
Good night, Sweet Prince.
What a game, though. NV taking the risk, realizing that the Sleep with the Fishes is his only out, plays for it, gets it.
Yeah.
Heavily rewarded. And Lala Song just going to concede right there.
Yeah, it's hard to be mad. Your opponent was getting pretty much bamboozled.
I think you can be mad. I think if you're Lala Song, you can be mad.
If you dig deep enough, you'll find the hate. The hate's always there. No, but I just... You have to respect when your opponent plays to an out. When you are the one pushing the aggression and you basically have them on check, and then they make a one-off play to do exactly what they need to get exactly what they need to win. And, you know, he got it, he stabilized, the taunts came down after, and I don't know. I would respect my opponent for being able to pull that off.
I agree with you. I think it was incredibly well played by NV. That play was game-winning. Just, it was, we'll probably see it later on in the highlights, but there was nothing else he could have done to survive. We could see there was a Mortal Strike there. Bloodhoof Brave was his alternative best play. That wouldn't have allowed him to survive, but he made the risky play. It paid off, and he won the game as a result.
Yeah, Singapore now up 2-1, and both of these teams came in and said they were not looking forward to playing each other just because Southeast Asia is a very tight-knit community. They're all kind of in it together. It's very similar with LATAM, where neither of these regions have necessarily had a huge win on the global stage. You know, when you think Hearthstone Championship Tour, obviously the World Championships have been dominated by USA and Europe, respectively. So
of course,
it's not anything where either of these regions have necessarily had that degree of success. You know, you have the Asia-Pacific playoffs, but generally the people who make it from the Asia-Pacific playoffs to BlizzCon haven't necessarily had the greatest success. So for them, this all means a lot, and they're all kind of rooting for each other. Southeast Asia in general, all the countries are very close.
Yeah, I mean, Southeast Asia, one of these regions that just wants to use this opportunity to make people notice them, really. Like, hey, Twitch chat, notice us. We can play some good Hearthstone.
You know how you get noticed by Twitch chat? Become a caster.
Yeah,
You'll get noticed.
that does it.
Mm.
Not necessarily in the right way, but that does it.
I like to think right now they're saying complimentary things about us.
Do you? You like to think that?
I like to think it.
Maybe don't check.
Yeah. Yeah, but especially Singapore and Malaysia are obviously so close geographically where these teams actually know each other really well. They go to the majors together. They hang out a fair bit, and they're all good friends. So this is one of those things where they actually even said that their tactics are fairly known amongst each other, so they felt like they had to kind of bring like some unique stuff and throw in some curveballs. Might have been why we saw that kind of janky elemental shaman early on.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Singapore, you promised me that they'd bring some different decks. We've not seen anything too normal just yet. I guess the Taunt Warrior, we didn't see anything odd going on yet, but there may have been a Deathwing in there. Who knows?
I mean, again, it's Singapore. With Sequinox like at the reins, they're pretty much helping to design like every deck list. There's a chance that every single deck just had Deathwing for some reason.
So what are they going to bring in their Paladin deck?
I mean, I would expect, what I'm expecting there is N'Zoth Paladin from Sequinox.
Okay.
He really is like more of a control player. He doesn't necessarily have a huge penchant for aggro. And yeah, Forbidden Healing, I think pretty much tells you all you need to know.
Yeah, well, Pyromancer is a big hint as well in that direction. But yeah, it's going to be the Jade Druid versus potentially N'Zoth Paladin. We saw we were talking just earlier today about a similar match that happened.
Zump God.
Where Zump took that away. Now, personally, I think the Paladin has a very good shot here because those Tyrians, if you can get 2 or 3 Tyrians on the board from a N'Zoth before it's too late, they can deal so much damage that the Jade Druid just can't stop.
Okay, so I see what you're saying, and obviously we saw that yesterday from Zump. It can happen,
yeah.
But I don't like any win condition where your sole win condition is, come on, Stonehill, defend. That doesn't feel good. The Jade Druid obviously has the inevitability clause, and this version of Paladin has a really hard time pushing aggression on the board.
Right.
It just, your curve has to be just absurdly perfect, and it really usually isn't, because this deck is loaded with removal,
yeah.
It's loaded with setup for N'Zoth.
It's a little bit more straightforward, though. Like, there's also Hydrologist, which can give you the Redemption, the Getaway Kodo, and give you more.
That's fair. It's technically doable, but this is a very difficult matchup for the N'Zoth Paladin, unless they get a lot of draw early.
It's
and get
so
to
important that they're careful about the way that they use their Pyromancers and their qualities and their board clears, and their Terems. It's so important that they really ration those out. Like, if there's a medium-sized board, you just can't use your removal. You have to wait until it's a big board. We don't even know if N'Zoth yet, actually, thinking about it.
Working under the operating assumption that this is a N'Zoth Paladin, which I actually feel comfortable doing.
Okay.
Kind of the major difference here is the Jade Druid doesn't really need much to go off. It needs to find the Nourish, it needs to find the Gadgets in, and then from there it just goes.
Yep.
Draws through most of its deck, just goes into the going infinite with Jade Golems, and that's how it wins. Now for the N'Zoth Paladin, yeah, Druid struggles to deal with a wide board of minions that have a good amount of health, obviously, but you have to go through the majority of your deck. You're not running Gadgets in. You don't have Nourish, so it takes you much longer to get to the end of the deck. But if things do line up in a way to where you get all those death rattles, and then you play N'Zoth, say, like turn 12 or 13, it's certainly doable. But it's an uphill battle because you don't have the kind of access to the card draw that the Druid does.
Yeah, I've played this matchup a few times myself, and what I've found is pretty much if I've managed to get my Tyrion, and I've managed to get it redemptioned once, or maybe a second Tyrion before N'Zoth, then it's great. But if you don't draw the Tyrion, or if you miss one of these vital pieces, that's where you struggle. Well, we're about to find out, it looks like. If Stonehill Defender picks up a Tareem, that's great as well. Because again, just an extra way of clearing all of the Jade Golems is fine.
Oh, yeah.
Tyrion's the pick.
So one thing to consider, Tyrion in a value game where you... So let's assume for a minute this is not N'Zoth Paladin.
Yeah.
Then Burn Bristle or Hired Gun I think is just better because you're not playing for the late game value. You actually just need to get going and you need to get that curve. So
I agree. I think it's very hard to win if you're not running N'Zoth in this matchup. But I think Burn Bristle, would have been the pick there. So hopefully our call is right, as he's got 2 Tyrions there.
I mean, I'm hoping it was really nice seeing a N'Zoth Paladin beat a Jade Druid. It's a long one, but yeah. In the meantime, the win condition for the Jade Druid obviously is just survive on board and get to your later threats. And this Stonehill Defender absolutely does not call for a swipe. I don't think he calls for a Feral Rage. You're just kind of waiting on the bus to come in. That bus being turn 5 Nourish.
Yeah.
And then you just kind of go from there. We're just going to go ahead and play the Jade Golem now.
Sure, why not? You're just pressuring the board. You're trying to bait out some of this removal.
See, I don't like that though, because you're getting rid of the innervate, and the innervate can be such a powerful tool with the gadgets in. And what are you really protecting this board from? Like you're still pushing. Yeah, that's the thing. You're not really pushing damage still.
Yeah, that's true.
I actually really dislike that innervate usage personally.
I didn't mind it because it means that you just can push damage. Again, it might encourage Singapore to preemptively use one of their board clears.
Sure.
Maybe they'd feel panicked into using a Pyromancer equality. I don't think a good team or a good player does that. Like one of the Paladin is better in this matchup if the Paladin player is good, because knowing when to use the board clears is actually vital. But I don't mind the play so much from Malaysia because they can then curve into Nourish.
Yeah, I mean, they go into the Nourish next turn, so it's, you know, things are still okay.
Yeah. Ooh, Jade Blossom might be tempting though, because the card becomes almost, well, not almost useless later, but it doesn't give you an extra card draw. So I don't mind using the Jade Blossom now and maybe saving the Nourish a little bit.
I guess the consideration point for me is if you want to use a Jade Blossom, what does the rest of your turn look like? Are you just gonna squeeze out a hero power to get the Divine Shield off the Burn Bristle?
Yeah.
If that's what you're looking to do, then that's fine. But I mean, drawing more cards now and just knowing what the rest of your game plan looks like is also fine. Like, this board doesn't need to be addressed. You are really not facing down any kind of actual pressure. But, I mean, yeah, you're building a board here, and maybe to the point you brought up, he's just saying, okay, I'm going to force out some removal now. Because the board doesn't build quickly.
And there you go, another minion down, so Sequinox going to have to decide if he's going to take the bait.
Don't get you baited.
Another thing, Doomsayer also very, very valuable because you can get to the point in the late game where the Druid's only putting down one Jade Golem a turn. If you can like clear a Jade Golem or outdoor one and then put down Doomsayer with a taunt, you almost guarantee that it goes off, which can be a big deal later on. Just dealing with each individual Jade Golem one at a time actually makes all the difference.
All right, Singapore being patient there with the board clear, not going to be baited into. I like this. The board clear is just entirely too important.
Yeah, this is definitely right.
Now you can Nourish here, see what you get. I mean, I guess you could just potentially look at Swipe. If you really just want to push damage, you could just swipe off the Harrison and then just keep pushing with the Golems. But, I mean, you probably are starting to assume that this is some form of Control Paladin because things have otherwise just been really slow.
Oh, Yogg-Saron.
Oof.
I believe over half of the Jade Druids in the top 16 at DreamHack actually ran Yogg.
Yeah, Yogg.
It's pretty popular at the moment.
Yogg is nowhere near as powerful as he used to be now that he has the ability to kill himself off, sap himself, transfigure himself, and then no longer do things.
Right.
But certainly a really powerful card in a deck that lacks the ability to deal with a wide board. It is the panic button. You smash the glass with a little hammer and it's Yogg in there, and then Yogg like shadow steps itself. You're like, come on, Yogg.
6 out of 10 actually.
Yeah.
Yogg, so just over half.
No, it's a very common inclusion in Jade Druid these days.
This is a poor Stonehill Defender again. Not quite as bad as the one we saw earlier. At least Grime Street Protector is a reasonable card.
It is actually a really good card, I think. It's just, it's the embarrassment of riches that Paladin has access to off the Stonehill Defender, to where you look at a Grime Street Protector, just a 7-mana 6/6 that gives adjacent minions Divine Shield, you're like, ugh, I guess I'll take it.
It's because they have such a strong chance at getting the Tyrion, because they get the class buff on the probability. Grime Street Protector also gets that class buff, but it's just not quite as good as the others.
The Stonehill Defender, just frankly, if there was one card that I thought would be like good, but it has actually been just disgusting. I mean, we even see it run in Priest. Do you know what you can get off of Stonehill Defender and Priest?
Very little.
Tortolan Shell Raising.
Yeah, that's
right. What you get. Somebody still runs it out there. All right, clean swipe, get rid of that board. Wild Growth, I think you definitely save here to cycle.
It's annoying that Sequinox hasn't quite found a chance to get this Doomsayer down early, as that could have made the difference. Just a way of dealing with this early board without using their equality. Only 11 health left.
I was going to say, Revenge CCS is knocking on the door.
Do you just drop the Grime Street Protector then? 6/6 taunt, survives both of the minions that are there.
I mean, the problem is that if you do that, there's reason to believe the Grime Street Protector is destroyed through spells.
Okay, do you know what? I think you have to just Pyromancer equality Doomsayer, then set up for the Tyrion.
I mean, that is the line I would like to see here.
It's not nice using up your Pyromancer quality on these tiny minions, but when you're backed into a corner, you've got no other choice. It just seems like the play, and then the Doomsayer obviously just sets up Tyrion nicely. Once Tyrion's down, you feel so much safer too.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you can set up Tyrion into an empty board, that is a good turn. Yeah, no way that we can see for Malaysia to deal with the Doomsayer anyway, so. I don't think you want to, you don't want to shuffle the Jade Idol into the deck just yet, so I think this is actually just a hero power pass turn.
Yeah, you need a way of drawing more cards really before you make the shuffle.
You could assert your dominance by wild growthing into 10 when you were already going into 10. Really get inside the mind of your opponent.
Don't think that wins you the game though.
It might. Shows of force sometimes just get there.
I think I should play against you in this matchup later.
Yeah, we'll test this later. The old intimidation wild growth into 10.
So, what does Malaysia actually do here? Nope, nothing. Okay.
Yeah, it's hero power pass, and then you just put your faith in the light.
I wouldn't mind putting my faith in the light here.
Yeah.
Seems like a pretty good time to be putting your faith in the light.
I mean, they got a choir and everything. What is not putting your faith in the light ever done for you?
Next turn actually could be quite complicated for Sequenix though. Like, does he want to follow it with the second Tyrion? Does he want to save that until after the first one's gone? Maybe use Spike Witch Steed? Jade Druids don't tend to run any wave silencing or hard removal.
The Tyrion is definitely a tough customer for the Druid to deal with.
If you can pop the if you can pop the Divine Shield and then play Grimestreet Protector, then Tyrion just gets even stronger. There's that.
Just to be clear, because I actually wasn't watching which Tyrion he played, but I'm assuming Singapore played the Tyrion that was not made from the Stonehill Defender.
I think it was the first one. Yeah, which would be the one that he drew.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm just going to have to use the hero power here just to pop the Divine Shield, and he's just going to play down the Drake. Has the follow-up in the form of the Feral Rage, but obviously it just trades into the Drake favorably for the Druid.
Yeah, Spike Ridge Steed just looks insane here.
Spike Ridge Steed does look pretty insane.
Spike Ridge Steed hero power later on. If the Tyrion survives, you can give a Divine Shield again. Don't even need the second one. I'm starting to wonder if they actually run the Nazoth though, because
well, we're only 12 cards in. It seems like the game has gone longer. I mean, I was just thinking that too, but if you're not, so if you're running Forbidden Healing and you cut the Murlocs, which is what it seems like has happened, I mean, you have to be running Nazoth, right? What's the win condition otherwise?
Right, you're right.
You say I'm right a lot. I like this, Daniel. You might just have permanently replace Gore over me.
I'd have to go a long way. You've come a long way here, though.
I mean, I've come to you. Are you willing to come to me? That's a healthy relationship. Compromise. All right, so there's the Gadgetzan. That is pretty important to just get the old Gadgetzan draw drive going, but kind of got to deal with what's going on the board right now, and it's 6 health.
I wonder if he has to just go for it anyway. Yeah, I think so. Now, you've got the Wild Growth as well. You can shuffle and then Wild Growth. Hopefully pick up your second Innovate. As you said earlier, he's used up the first one, which is a bit of a waste. I'm sure it's one that he's regretting at the moment.
I mean, I don't want to be that guy, but if you had an Innovate right now, you could deal with the Tyrion.
Yeah.
I mean, you still have a Stegodon down. It's really not necessarily like super crazy, but yeah, just go ahead and get the draws going.
Behemoth not going to do anything. Jade Idol, okay, that's playable. Not a horrible auctioneer turn, but was it impactful enough?
I mean, this is basically the turning point. Singapore needs to go ahead and like get this one in the very near future. The Grimestreet Protector here could get pretty decent value here.
That's what I was just gawping at.
Your eyes got big. You were like, Grimestreet Protector.
You have to deal with the Gadgetzan Auctioneer, so unfortunately, if you play the Grimestreet Protector, you can't get rid of the 5/5 Jade Golem, but do you care? You just pop up Grimestreet Protector, trade the Tyrion into the Auctioneer, and go face with the opponent.
Yeah, I mean, you're putting a 6/6 down. You are continuing to present a giant board that the Druid has to deal with at some point, and they're not at the point where they're making necessarily the largest of Jade Golems as yet, and even if they are, you have initiative. You're the one, unless these Jade Golems suddenly have Taunt on them, you can choose to ignore them at some point and just swing face. Yeah, I definitely like just Grimestreet Protector, Hero Power. I mean, you don't even have to Hero Power if you're just concerned maybe after DreamHack yesterday, you think there's a Mind Control tech in there.
Yeah, do you ever consider the True Silver Champion just to get rid of the Auctioneer? I don't think it's as good, but...
No, I don't. The thing is, like, what I actually like most about this Grimestreet Protector is just that it's a 6/6.
Right.
I just like that it's big. because you just need to continue pressuring the Druid right now. You have a window to win this game.
I do like what it does to the Tyrion as well, though. The fact that it's now just out of range of the Jade Golem trading into it.
Yeah, I mean, Earthen Scales could get you there. But again,
a lot of things.
It requires it requires additional investment, which is kind of the best thing you can hope for here. I mean, Tyrion gets dealt with. You have the Stegodon. You have the Ashbringer. You know, your opponent might not be running weapon removal.
I'm still questioning this N'Zoth, you know. Hopefully I'll see something soon which gives it away, but actually a lot of the time they only run N'Zoth and Infested Taurian as the tells. RDUs only run them.
They have Cairn as well.
Not all of them. RDUs, Star Ladder didn't run Cairn. But yeah, you're right. The ones we saw last weekend, I think they usually run in Cairn.
Cairn is generally, when you look at the N'Zoth package as to what makes it so powerful to get that N'Zoth down, the two things that really stand out are, you know, the N'Zoth, or not the N'Zoth, the Tyrion and the Cairn. Yeah. Infested Taurian is good against certain decks, but...
Against Druid, though, Tyrion, you don't even really need the Cairn, because just Tyrions, Druids can't deal with them.
Okay, so, you have double Consecration here. Your Pyromancer has Divine Shield.
Oh my.
This is a complicated turn. Nothing jumps out at me immediately, so let me kind of take a look at this here.
Yeah, you just trade the 7/7, double Consecrate, everything else survives.
Yeah, and then you make a hero power after and you just keep pushing damage.
But the only consideration you have to take there is, do you want to use both Consecrations? You've used both Pyromancers. So what are you like comboing with Equality? You've got a Primordial Drake somewhere, but I think I prefer this slightly. Just because you're saving these board clears. If you draw the second Equality, then
it's also just a really difficult board for the Druid to get through.
Yeah.
You have 3 taunts, one of them has Divine Shield.
The hard part is working out what to trade. Not long to make that decision, though.
See, I feel like by virtue of playing Tyrion, you're not trading anything. You're just going.
I like this. A nice little middle ground. You don't trade into the big guys, but there's no way that they can connect to the face, so there shouldn't be.
I have to see that one again. I really felt like...
You like the double Consecration still?
Well, so what I liked about the double Consecration was that you didn't really lose much. You actually traded the hero power token in beforehand, so you actually didn't lose any minions. You set your other minions to 4 health. Tyrion wouldn't on the board, so your Pyromancer survives at 1. The other minions are at 4. You have a clear board, and then you're just pressing damage.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, halfway plays against the Jade Druid are oftentimes kind of like sometimes they work against other decks, but there isn't a whole lot of halfway with Druid.
Yeah.
Once Jade Druid gets to this point, it's just making bigger things. You don't have a quality in hand. Like, how are you actually getting through this board now that the Primordial Drake is coming down?
Yeah.
That's my only concern. I'm not saying the play I'm switching was correct, but I just have questions about it, I guess.
It's kind of tough.
Like, how do you actually win this? Your opponent has way more in terms of resources.
All Sequinox needs to do is... Not Sequinox, sorry. All Singapore need to do is pick up N'Zoth. Really?
Yeah, but there's still 16 cards left prior to this draw.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have any card draw. But I'm saying, like, I think you have to look at that situation and say, okay, how do I actually win this matchup?
Yeah.
And I just feel like it was... The halfway play didn't feel right to me. Again, willing to be wrong.
You wanted to go fully aggressive.
I know Soddle's out there watching, and I'm expecting Soddle to explain why I'm wrong, but...
Maybe just stay away from Twitter and Skype.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure you just text me, email me.
Oh, right. Okay.
Carrier pigeon from Soddle that just says you're wrong.
I get those.
Yeah, he would make a great business for that. The you're wrong-ogram.
Raglite Lord just looks like the obvious play here.
Yeah.
You can't really play Tareem yet. You need to use that to deal with some of the huge Jade Golems later.
Do you feel you need to trade in the Stegodon to just get the... No, I guess, yeah, if it heals the Stegodon, it's actually good for you.
Yeah, that's fine. So, Gadgets and Auctioneer or Fandral Nourish both seem like some pretty good options. If you Fandral Nourish and draw a Jade Idol, then you can get the... you can really get the Jade train going. Yeah, my thoughts exactly.
I mean, you have to look into clearing the Ragnaros, I would imagine. Although, the reason I'm not sure about that is you don't necessarily, even if they go back up to 30 health, this is not a situation where you're, say, like a hunter player where that's like a big deal.
Yeah.
As a Jade Druid, you're just going to win long term.
In theory, yeah.
Yeah, by just making a bunch of Jades. So maybe you don't actually have to deal with the Ragnaros here. I mean, yeah, it's 8 damage, but you're sitting at 19 health. You have Earthen Scales. You have Feral Rage.
Given the opportunity, do you try and push and win the game as fast as possible? It's funny to me that Revenge is actually getting rid of the Staggadon there. That means the Rag Light Lord is definitely going to heal the face unless it trades into something.
Yeah, well, Rallying Blade, not a useful draw here. And yeah, Singapore has no equality here, so this is... They can do minion combat up to a point, but there obviously becomes an instance in the game where that's not enough to deal with the golems anymore.
Right. Such a tough turn. Rallying Blade, just not the card that Singapore needed. Just another weapon. They've got weapons coming out of their ears at the moment. They don't need that.
Yeah, it's interesting to me, though, that there's the True Silver and the Rallying Blade. That's been kind of something that's been popping up, is running one of each.
Yeah, it's making me wonder if this deck actually runs N'Zoth. I'm going to keep saying it until I actually see some hard evidence. An Infestatorian or a Cairn or a N'Zoth. I need to see one of those cards.
My mouth has written a check that this deck can't handle, can't cash.
Whoa! Sunkeeper Tareem going to get the guaranteed heal on the face and also get rid of the 3/3 with the weapon. Nope. No need.
Right, yeah, he's got a bunch of pressure on the board now. He gets a guaranteed heal. He's got the Druid down to 10. And from what you can see on the board, even though this is probably not correct because the Druid has a million cards, the Tarim would live, and you would actually just get through and kill the Druid.
So, we have to start asking the question, is it Yogg time?
I thought you were going to ask if there's an N'Zoth, and I'm like, I don't know, man.
I'm not starting to ask that question. I've been asking that all game.
All right, well, the double Feral Rage with the Fandral value is just going to be immense.
Yep.
16 armor, 8 attack, just clear the Tarim.
They were worried about being on 10 health.
Yeah, this
not
is
anymore.
You had really not seen a whole lot of this kind of chicanery from the Druid. There's a 25-cent word. Yeah, and you just go ahead and trade in the Aya. Get, I believe it's going to be a 9/9 golem. Yep. All right, well, you're good. Paladin looks scary for a minute, but you...
Yeah, now it doesn't look scary at all. Stampeding Kodo.
Yeah.
Another card that indicates to me there may not be an N'Zoth there, I think.
Look, man. This upcoming break is going to be real uncomfortable if you keep asking about this.
I want to actually ask Singapore if there is one.
Yeah. If there isn't, there has to be some other win condition.
Because this is my problem, is that how do they win the game if there isn't one?
I mean, it might be just basically geared towards beating aggro. And then the point is that you're basically just hoping to exhaust your opponents of resources, but...
And they'd have just been hoping that it was a token Druid, not a Jade one.
Well, meanwhile in the game, you can technically, through the use of Consecrations, both of them, clear the board. You're going to have to take 9 damage from the Ashbringer.
Yeah, and also you lose your one minion.
Yeah.
I prefer not doing that. If you can at all help it. Yeah, okay, you've got to take 9, but you're, again, putting pressure on the boards. Earthen Scales, 10, 11, 12 maximum damage this turn from Malaysia.
Yeah, Earthen Scales and I want to say seconds. Yeah, second swipe would have been it. I don't think we've seen both swipes.
No, I don't think so either. I'm just trying to work out Nourish. If he picks up a swipe from the Nourish, it's still one off lethal because he won't be able to fit in the hero power. So no obvious lethal here for Revenge.
I mean, doesn't need one. He could just play the gadgets and start drawing.
Yeah.
Honestly, if he wants to.
Gain a lot of armor. What's that, 21 armor he could gain this turn, just off of that 9/9?
20?
Plus 10, plus 11, right?
Oh, yeah, I'm dumb. How does math work?
I've gotten that wrong with double Earthen Scales so many times. I think that's the first time I've ever gotten it right. So I'm going to enjoy it.
You know what? You've earned this.
Thank you.
All right. See, no. All right, so Curator is in there. 12 cards left. This is... I mean, I guess if in the bottom half or the bottom 12 cards of your deck, you have like double infested Tauren.
I'm telling you, there's no N'Zoth.
There's an N'Zoth in here. I know it. Daniel, search your feelings. You know it to be true. All right, well, Noble Sacrifice would block a hit from one of these minions.
All your hero power. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's actually... Yep.
I prefer the Redemption for that very reason. Though it does the same thing, it still eats up... Actually, no, it doesn't, because now Malaysia have to play around the Noble Sacrifice. They might hero power first. So this actually saves more damage. Well, I guess Malaysia have to take a gamble, right? They have to try and work out which one it's going to be. If they think it's Noble Sacrifice, they hero power first. If they think it's Redemption, they do it the other way around. Mind games to the extreme.
Well, we say mind games to the extreme, but realistically, these are not very extreme mind games in terms of the implications.
Okay, that's true.
Yeah. Ha! He took 4 damage!
And wasted 10.
Got him on the ropes. Yeah.
Probably wasted 10.
You gotta learn to appreciate the small victories.
I wonder what Malaysia are considering doing. Testing for the secret first, I guess. At the moment, yeah, they're going to have to put that 10 attack Jade Golem in, which is actually a huge loss. So they took damage, they wasted 10 damage, unless this Nourish picks something up that will deal with it.
I think we've seen both Wraths, so
There's the
this is why.
snipe, but there's no... Wait, is the bottom card Innovate? Have we seen... I think we've only seen the one.
Yeah, unless he's just running the one Innervate, but I can't imagine
Really,
a world where that's the
though?
case. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was going to say.
Hello, quality. Right. Well, it has to come down this turn.
Quality Primordial Drake?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just put something on the board that is mildly threatening.
Then you can double Consecrate later. It's still a pretty sad equality, though. Like, it hits 1 Jade Golem.
What does a happy equality
Ooh.
look like?
No, wait. Double Consecration's better here. Because then it allows Revenge to then put more Jade Golems on the board, more healthy ones. Then you can equality Primordial Drake. And that should look like a happy equality.
Yeah, sure, but it again, you're again saying like, okay, I'm going to let you... What is the odds Revenge CCS actually just plays a bunch of Jade on this turn? He still hasn't seen the second equality. I just think being proactive in this situation is just strictly better than being reactive.
I think we'll probably see at least 2.
Sure.
It depends on what
But he's
happens
got more. Like, that's just it.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's fine. I get having to play reactive, but it's one of those situations where your opponent's at 14 health. Well, no, they were at 17 before the consecrations, and you're putting a 4/8, which the Druid is going to have a hard time removing.
If they can force a situation where Revenge only plays 1 Jade Golem, and then they can play N'Zoth if there is a N'Zoth,
Sure.
that's how they win this game. There's the Innovate. We tracked it correctly. As Revenge starts with his infinite resources. Problem is, Sequinox is going to have to deal with that Gadgets and Auctioneer. Is that going to be a second one? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he put 2 Jade Golems in here, which is, I think, all he was realistically ever going to commit. Because you need to have the ability to have the reload if the board gets cleared.
I was going to say, there's no reason not to at least shuffle here, is there?
No, you can...
If you're not playing one, you definitely shuffle.
That's what I put... Oh, yeah.
All right, you win. But this is so good now for Singapore.
But let's change the subject. Yeah.
No, but it's so good
It is.
because the equality into Drake, and then, well, no matter what Malaysia does, N'Zoth puts up 2 Tyrians.
Yeah. Okay. You know, I will admit when I'm wrong.
Yeah, I'm wrong.
We're both wrong.
I mean, you were saying there was a N'Zoth there the whole time. I think the previous play was wrong. Like, he should have shuffled the last turn. He played right into that equality.
No. That's what I was saying. Like, I don't ever think there was a universe where you were realistically, if you were looking to make the most optimal play, going to play 3 Jade Golems. I mean, I don't think it's going to matter here.
I think because Malaysia have swipe, they're going to be able to deal with the Tyrian really nicely. Just swipe face, trade the Jade Golems in.
Yeah.
Singapore get 1 Ashbringer.
Can't do a wield.
No,
No.
not in Hearthstone. Maybe someday. Again, we're full of the expansion ideas today.
Oh, I was going to say, have you ever thought, man, I wish Pirate Warrior could hold 2 axes?
No.
Probably not.
We've seen... Oh, no, we have seen both Stonehill Defenders. I thought that we'd only seen one for a second, and I thought, what if Sequinox picks up another... Like, Stonehill into Tareem? That'd be good here. But... Oh, dear.
Yeah, why not?
So it's one of those situations where 2 Tyrion, too late, just not quite enough.
Ooh, one of those golems, you can bring it to 1 attack.
Great. Then what?
Yeah, and this is kind of what I was talking about is, yeah, the N'Zoth win condition is certainly a thing, but look how long it took to get there, and he only got through the 1 Tyrion, and then the second he got off the Stonehill Defender.
Well, I think if the N'Zoth was drawn maybe 4 or 5 turns earlier.
But that's my point. You don't.
Yeah.
That's why when we were lining up basically Jade Druid versus N'Zoth Paladin, my gut is that the Jade Druid is generally going to get to their win condition before you get to yours.
Sure.
Because hey, you found N'Zoth and you have 2 Tyrions, but you're staring down a 14, 14, and 15, 15, and now a 17, 17.
Well, there's the swipe. Earthen Scales plus Hero Power going to allow the Jade Spirit to trade away the Primordial Drake. And,
Gosh, I guess you're just going to hit him really hard in the face.
yeah, 17 damage. Going to go to the dome there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this matchup is just really testing in general for the Paladin player, because a lot of your conventional wisdom on waiting and being reactive and patient with your resources kind of goes in the opposite direction.
Right.
At one point, you have to make a definitive aggressive stance. Yeah, I think that's just mostly how that matchup goes.
Yeah, you're right. I'm just disappointed. I love seeing the N'Zoths come down. And
You saw it
multiple
yesterday.
Tyrion.
How many more times do you need to see that? Like, you had the miracle. Zump did it once. We won't see it again for like another 200 years.
How many Tyrions came from that N'Zoth? Was it 2 or 3? I don't
It was
know.
2.
It was 2.
He got the 1 natural, and then he had the 1 off the Stonehill Defender, so.
If you can get 3, then
Look,
you
that
win this
matchup is a cinch if you just definitely get 2 Tyrions off of your 2 Stonehill.
I mean, you can get 5.
and then your N'Zoth's in the top half of your deck. It's easiest game of your life.
It's possible to get 5, isn't it? Right. Double Stonehill,
technically,
double Redemption,
yeah.
and Tyrion himself. You can get there.
Dream big.
Well, Revenge took down Aaron there, and we're going to go into the ace match. It's going to be Revenge again versus Sequinox.
Versus the actual Sequinox, not Aaron.
Well, this is, yeah. That happened. But
So this is really interesting to me because I went through and I kind of cataloged for all 24 teams that advanced from stage 1, what decks they were using, like what decks were most played. In case you were curious, Warrior was the most played. I think it had a play rate of like 17% or something. It was the most played class period though. But obviously, if you like a class and you think it's going to do well, you're going to put it higher up in the queue because you want to make sure you actually play it if it's just a 3-game series. Rogue, certainly one of the most popular classes in general for Singapore. For the first 5 weeks, it was always the first or second class.
right.
That was one they valued very highly. They always wanted to play. And as you kind of try to demystify what the Hearthstone Global Games format is at its most optimally played, it's making sure that you get those classes early on. So the fact that it fell to the ace match, that they just put it at the end.
That's really weird. That's
Yeah.
the part that I thought was quite strange for Malaysia. As often, Warlock is the ace deck. It's something that we've seen a lot because nobody wants to play Warlock. Firebat talked about it in the community video a few weeks ago. He said he doesn't think that's a good strategy. He doesn't like putting Warlock in as the ace deck. He likes to have it early, paired with Druid or Paladin.
You pair it with the power class that you know you're always going to pick. And then basically if you can get Zoo into Druid, like that's still okay.
Yeah.
If you can get it into the Jade Druid. But with the prevalence of Aggro Druid, even then it's hard to actually negotiate. But yeah, where you actually put your decks in the Hearthstone Global Game format is a big deal because you want to make sure to have your most favored decks that you're going to pick at least in the first 3 slots if you intend to play them anyway.
Now, Rogue is another class that's kind of developed a lot since Ngoro. As first there was Quest Rogue, and then Miracle Rogue reappeared, and then we kind of settled on Quest Rogue being the stronger one. However, recently, Miracle Rogue's been making a bit of a resurgence. There's been the Giant build, there's been the Questing Adventurer build, and there's been just this fast, I think it's called Fast Miracle Rogue, that's kind of, it's got Shaku, but it doesn't really have a win condition, it's just got the typical Miracle Rogue stuff.
I think Cold Blood's in it too.
Yeah, Cold Blood's is as close as you
It's
get.
definitely more aggressive. Monsanto put together a list which is specifically anti-aggro, which is an area that Miracle Rogue technically suffers in. Obviously, they have some weird wrinkles in the South Sea. No, what is it? The 1-drop pirate that the Rogue card gives them a card. I'm
Swashbuckler.
Yeah, Swashbuckler. And then they have hallucinations. So there are certain things they can get that make matchups a little bit kind of unpredictable. But yeah, generally, Rogue right now is in the spot where Quest Rogue is just the way you mess up control. And then Miracle Rogue is when you get tired of playing Quest Rogue, but you still maybe want to mess up control a little bit.
I found weeks ago, I'm talking like maybe even 2 months ago here, when I was playing a lot of Miracle Rogue, Hallucination would really boost the percentage that you beat Pirate Warrior. Because you play Hallucination, it's like, oh, Shield Block, oh, Ali Armorsmith, great.
I mean, it's still an unfavored matchup to be 100% certain.
Of course.
But yeah, that's that's basically if you're looking, how do I even win this matchup?
Yeah.
But yeah, Quest Rogue is certainly most popular. At the beginning of this season, I want to say just based off the Vicious Syndicate Data Reaper stuff, you saw at the very beginning of the season, Quest Rogue is all over the place because it is such a polarizing deck that if you run into something that can't handle the actual way Quest Rogue functions, a lot of times you just kind of get the win. But yeah, in general, it seems to have been settled on as the most powerful of the Rogue decks.
That being said, at DreamHack last weekend, top 16, 8 players brought Rogue, 4 brought the Quest Rogue, 4 brought the Miracle Rogue.
I mean, Miracle is extremely... that was the deck I played most last month. I think it was the deck I ended up playing to Legend. Miracle Rogue is extremely powerful in its own right, and what I like about it is because you have the cards that generate other cards, there's so much flexibility in what you do on a game-to-game basis. It's the same reason that at the very beginning of Journey to Un'Goro, we were seeing Discover Mage just being popular because you have Glyph, you have Cabal Courier. You just, in any given situation, you can kind of navigate, what do I need to do to win this game?
Right.
So something I definitely like about Miracle Rogue. And then, to the point you made earlier, there are a bunch of different ways you can play it. You can run the double Vile Spine list, the double Arcane Giant, Questing Adventure. Casey is generally who I go to for Miracle Rogue list because he's a rogue god.
Long time.
Right. I climb up to the mountain and knock 3 times on his door. But he was running, the list I got from him was double Giant, double Slayer, and then the Questing. Yeah. So there's a lot of different ways you can play it, but yeah, I think in the Hearthstone Global Games format, it's honestly one of those things where the best answer I've heard in terms of what do you bring as far as the rogue slot goes, Amnesiac said it just, you sometimes just bring what is unexpected. Yeah,
and I mean, the point I was making before with the DreamHack Rogues is that I think that times are changing, trends are changing. Maybe we'll start seeing more Miracle Rogues and less Quest Rogue as time goes on. I expect that one of these rogues will be Miracle today.
I mean, I would personally like to see Miracle Rogue, but obviously it's purely speculation.
All right, we're waiting for the players to get ready. We're just going to go to a very short break, but coming up in just a moment, final game of the series. Don't go anywhere.
We're almost there. Quiet down, everyone. This is not like any of our previous expeditions. This will be far more ambitious. We're stepping into a land of primordial wonder. Infused with astonishing elemental energies. The plant life here holds very unusual properties. So don't touch anything. And while you may be excited to see the local fauna, you might want to make sure they don't see you. Because their powers of adaptation are devastating. Make no mistake, we will be tested at every turn. But if we stay on our guard, we might just survive. Now then, are you ready? Then let's journey into Un'Goro Crater.
Welcome back to week 11 of the Hearthstone Global Games, and this time we're actually gonna do a game.
No more breaks. No more break. We're gonna get right into that game.
Don't go anywhere. Come back if you've gone to get a drink or anything else. We didn't get to eat our pizza. If that makes you feel any better, it hasn't actually come yet. So,
and as an American, this obviously very much upsets me.
Right.
Yeah.
As an Italian, it upsets me.
Now, we're very upset about this, but we are not upset about getting into this ace match. Really excited about this one. It's gonna be the Rogue Mirror between Singapore and Malaysia. Both of these teams have fought hard in this series, so very excited to go to the ace match here.
And after much discussion, we agreed earlier that we're hoping that we see some Miracle Rogues here.
Yeah, definitely what I want to see. Quest Rogue, though, is so powerful, it's hard to imagine a world where these are not Quest Rogues, but you can always hope for the miracle.
Right. I don't know which deck is particularly favored in that game, actually.
So that is actually generally Quest Rogue.
Right.
The weird wrinkle there is obviously the Van Cleef. If you get that early, coin prep Van Cleef, then things get a bit wonky. But in general, you have to have a pretty powerful curve as the Miracle Rogue to actually take out the Quest Rogue. Otherwise, it does what it does to most control decks.
And the other thing is your saps are completely useless. Like, you do not want to be sapping Quest Rogue.
If you're even running them. That's the thing. A lot of the late game decks actually just run the Vile Spine Slayers and say, that's basically my version of sap.
And that's okay. It deals with 1/5/5, but your 5 mana card is dealing with 1/5/5 and then trading inefficiently with another.
Yeah.
It doesn't really do the job once that quest's been complete. So unless, as you say, you get a fast Edwin Van Cleef, a fast questing adventurer, it's definitely a struggle.
Yeah, definitely something that as the Miracle Rogue, it doesn't necessarily line up favorably for you.
But we are not going to talk stone this for any longer. We know you're itching to watch the game. We're itching to watch the game. Let's go. Malaysia versus Singapore. Final game. Rogue Mirror.
Iron hand of justice.
Yep, and more what I expected to see. Okay,
Yeah.
let's get through the specifics of what you're looking for here.
Not that.
Yeah, wow, Backstab is not a card that we necessarily always see anymore. That Eviscerates have also been cut. Generally, the Saps, it's pretty much moved away.
Phantom
the Quest
Knives,
Rogue,
etc.
from all the things that kind of justify or make up the Rogue removal suite. But you are looking...
Vanish and Prep are the ones that you expect to see, and Mimic Pod, obviously, spell-wise.
You are basically just looking for a one mana minion to bounce. Now, we see there Malaysia has the Glacial Shard. Glacial Shard is an incredibly powerful bounce effect. Obviously, brings a lot of the aggressive boards to heal. In this matchup, it's still a fine bounce. It can help you complete the quest, but it's a situation where the impact of it is diminished because you're not facing down big threats. So
it's pretty good at freezing igneous elementals, preventing them from trading into things and getting destroyed. And it's obviously very good after your opponent's quest's been complete, though. At that point, if your quest isn't also complete, you're in trouble. We can see Revenge actually throws away the Glacial Shard, would rather have something like a Firefly or an Igneous Elemental. Also picking up a Backstab there.
Yeah, I don't think Glacial Shard is necessarily the nuts in this matchup.
No.
But I also don't know that I approve of just dropping a 1-drop when you have a bounce effect already. This matchup really does more often than not just comes down to who completes the quest first.
Backstab's everywhere.
Yeah, that is... Well, I mean, you can... Here's the thing. You can include Backstab if you're expecting more aggression. Volcano.
Someone's just distracting
Chat,
you. By
you've been patient. You deserve this Volcano. Crack open a warm one with the chat. All right, well, the Glacial Shard came back, but yeah, this game is all about getting that quest done first. There are some odd ways you can kind of get back with Vanish, but this matchup is kind of what you see is what you get.
Yeah. Prep is pretty huge for Malaysia if they do get the tools to complete the quest, though. Like getting it out for less mana means that you can then put more 5/5s on the board straight away and really swing the game into your favor. Firefly is probably exactly what Malaysia were looking for. Now they can play that, bounce it back, and the next turn play another one.
Yeah, and the chip damage you might actually get off the Fireflies is actually fairly relevant. It can be a factor.
It's relevant if you can deal 5, right?
Right, and it's damage in this matchup that does not come from completing the quest is essentially just relevant in increments of 5, sometimes 4 because the dagger can just act as that random point of damage.
Sometimes you can just, through the course of the game, just hit 5 damage to the face with your dagger.
I mean, we saw Zixo win a game as Quest Rogue yesterday where he never even finished the quest.
Right.
So, highly unlikely, but that yesterday was a day, the DreamHack final day, of unlikely outcomes.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, winning the game as a Quest Rogue without completing the quest, as you say Zixo did, that's something that I've seen maybe once before.
Yeah. All right, debating whether he wants to play down that Flame Elemental.
I think you just bounce this.
I think I like the bounce. So you're running Backstab here. I guess the question is, and maybe it's not super relevant, but does your opponent also run Backstab? Because if not, then there was a world where that Panda starts actually pushing damage.
Right. So, holding on to the Youthful Brewmaster, maybe later bouncing Flame Elemental is essentially a faster way of completing the quest because you end up completing it with Flame Elemental most of the time anyway, and if you bounce Fireflies, it just makes it more expensive to get all the Flame Elementals out. But that's the way that Malaysia have chosen to go here.
I like this from Singapore bouncing the Novice Engineer. Now,
yeah,
the obvious upside of Novice Engineer is that you're generating resources. The downside is that it costs more mana. But your opponent doesn't seem to have a lightning quick start in terms of completing the quest, and you just need to start drawing stuff. So I actually like just investing in that Novice Engineer and saying, okay, this is what I'm planning to bounce.
It's possible that Revenge goes for the same thing here because he can play that, he can bounce that back with Youthful Brewmaster, he can backstab and get rid of the Ferryman, and kind of be going towards the same win condition. Just
Has to make a decision here, though.
if you can complete the quest with the Gadgetzan Auctioneer, like you said, you're not the Auctioneer. That's not it. It draws a lot of cards, but that's not what I'm talking about. If you can complete the quest with the Novice Inventor, then you get so many resources. If you can do that and be first, you're in a great position to win the game.
So interesting decision here point for Malaysia. They chose not to bounce the 1-2 before, which would have continued to generate resources. So yeah, they're going to go ahead and see what's in the box with Mimic Pod, hope for some bounces. Double Vanish is very awkward, especially since you just use one of your preps.
Yeah, I feel like we see Vanish come out of Mimic Pods quite often, actually, but it's never one the Quest Rogue is happy about, especially in the mirror match.
Yeah, there are so many better outcomes for your Mimic Pod, some of which are just truly gross.
Like Shadow Step, for example.
Shadow Step, really any bounce, even Novice Engineer off that, even when you're not playing that for the quest, is just super powerful.
Malaysia just had the news that Patches is in Singapore's hand. As Swashbuckler has recently come back into fashion. For a while, players had completely cut Swashbuckler because they wanted to get their Patches out with their deckhand and no earlier than that.
Right.
But Sequinox got it in his deck.
It was also just, and then maybe this wasn't necessarily the biggest issue, but it had a vulnerability to Galaka Crawler. And Galaka Crawler, so does South Sea Deckhand and Patches, obviously, but the idea is that you're playing them when you're getting them for the charge value, where you're getting that guaranteed damage.
Yeah.
There was a time where Galaka Crawler, depending on which region you were playing Hearthstone on, obviously I'm just visiting Europe, I'm North America, but there was a time where you could just not play a pirate in a match, or else it was going to get eaten.
Right. Now, second Novice Engineer is a bit of a risk here, because if they play it and don't get a bouncer, then there goes your whole strategy for completing this quest.
Yeah, Vanish really was a whiff off the Mimic Pod. So there comes a point in this matchup where you might just be forced to start playing out some of your less impactful minions in the matchup, your Glacial Shard, your Flame Elemental, and just kind of go from there just to get something on the board. You've already invested in the Novice Engineer, so I'd be pretty surprised if you chose to play that down. Yeah, so Flame Elemental just coming down here. Again, it's just going to get a little bit of chip damage. Might be able to deal with any 1-1 that's left over. Both teams know that they're on the Novice Engineer play, so this is huge draw for Singapore. Play down the Novice Engineer, Shadow Step it, see what you get.
If you get another bouncer, then you can play the Novice Engineer for a third time and bounce that again. If not, it's probably okay.
I like that you're calling it bouncer, because that's actually like where I'm from. A bouncer is like somebody who stands at a club and like bodies people from entering.
Of course.
Right. Yeah.
Gotta watch out for that.
When you get bodied.
Loss of no, I was talking about loss of translation.
Oh, sure.
Should probably watch out for that.
Don't want to get bodied. Yeah. All right, Igneous Elemental. You can just play this down now. And this is fine. Like, it gives you kind of an auxiliary win condition.
Yeah.
If questing or the Novice Engineer doesn't necessarily end up being the way you go. Igneous Elemental, obviously extremely powerful in this deck. It patrols the board too. It's kind of incredible in this matchup how powerful a 2/3 is for just regulating your board.
Things just looking so bad for Malaysia now, though. Just another card that doesn't really allow Revenge to play anything.
Yeah. They could play this the Novice Engineer, and if they had prep,
so risky.
They could have gone for the Vanish route again, but they don't have it.
Nope, they don't.
Vanish is really just rapidly running out of value too.
Because go for it. Taking the risk. That'll do it.
Oh, wow. Calculated.
Yeah. A little bit like earlier, NV playing to his outs.
Did you see Sequinox's mouth? Come on. Yeah, taking a risk there, Malaysia realizing they were falling behind. I mean, are you a bad enough dude to Novice Engineer into the guaranteed Shadow Step?
Well, are you NV, Team Singapore on the other side of things, they're earlier on playing Acolyte of Pain into Whirlwind to get Sleep with the Fishes as his only out. Yeah. So, it's not like Singapore's not done the same thing already. Picking up the second Swashbuckler there from Sequinox, but already on the bouncing Novice Engineer plan.
I mean, you had the Vanish, yeah.
That does nicely set up Revenge, though, to complete his quest. He can play his Novice Engineer and then bounce it again with the Ferryman. That'll be the only consideration that Sequonix is having to make here.
One interesting aspect of this particular matchup, and it's a very minor thing, is that Swashbuckler can technically pull Shadow Step or Gadgets and Ferryman.
Right.
So there is a desperation option if you don't want to commit to the Vanish just yet, but you also want to dig and see if you can maybe just find it cheated out a little bit.
Risky. Do you go for Mimic Pod first if you're gonna take that line though?
I mean, you definitely go for Mimic Pod first just because it represents a larger chance to actually hit what you're looking for.
This is more sensible.
Yep, just gonna go with the. It's gonna Vanish, and yeah, Malaysia just excited. They get to complete their quest now.
Yeah, I mean, definitely double-edged swords there. Damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. He played the Vanish. Now it's go time. Revenge got his cap on. Gonna start working out the fastest way of activating this quest.
We'd really like to find his second copy of Prep.
Yeah. I wouldn't even be good enough this turn though, would it? Because you have to bounce it with...
Oh, no, but just in general, I think you...
Yeah.
Because you have a lot of minions.
Sure. And...
Just next turn, a lot of your mana is going to be spent into activating the quest.
And Vanish is great if your opponent doesn't have many minions with a charge on the board.
But obviously this deck is...
Yeah. Considering not playing it, seems like... No, there it is. Makes a lot of sense to play it here. Quest complete.
Yeah, I like when players actually take this matchup a little bit more slowly, because it's very easy to kind of see things and just start going on autopilot. But just make sure you math it out, figure out what your next turn is going to look like.
Something Soto has been pushing a lot for the last few weeks. He's been saying, the last couple of months even, he's been saying, like, we're going to see Quest Rogues slow down. It's all a game of maths. You work out, like, how quickly you can complete it, but that doesn't necessarily mean you've got to start playing stuff on turn 1 and turn 2.
All right, there's a Crystal Core activated. So Malaysia has to be happy at least that Singapore also did not have the ability to prep out the quest.
This is looking way better for Malaysia here. Crystal Core plus Deckhand. Patches hasn't been drawn yet by Revenge. That's 21 damage there with the weapon too. 22 with the Stone to Spore. I think that's just lethal. Yeah, that'll do it. Malaysia, after a long series and small break, Malaysia going to take the win.
Yeah, I really like Malaysia. Really made an extremely ballsy call there. Like, yeah, this is Kobe Bryant. I was gonna say maybe this doesn't resonate with Europeans. I was gonna say Lionel Messi. Not doing it for you. Yeah. Okay. Well, it's like a person who won a sports game celebrating after they won the world championship. Like, Malaysia's very excited about that. They are now up 1-0 in their series, or in their group rather.
I know what a sports game is.
Yeah.
I can connect with you on that one.
I'm trying to bridge the gap here. We just have all these lost in translation moments. But Malaysia, let's just talk about the fact Malaysia just straight up was like, I'm just going for it. I'm just going to draw a bounce effect. And yeah, he did.
And it was risky for Sequinox as well. He played the Vanish. He realized that was the only thing he could do. Unfortunately, it set Malaysia up for that astounding win. We take one look back at the series. It was a close one. Went right down to the ace match. Unlike the first series we had today, which was a very quick 3-0. This is what I like to see.
Yeah, and these two regions, they know each other very well. They all hang out very often in real life at the majors and just hanging out as friends. So it's cool to see it come down to 5. These teams didn't want to play each other. They're really all in for everybody wins with Southeast Asia. But you know, it's getting down to the line. 48 teams are now 24, and friends are gonna have to start killing off friends.
It's gonna happen, right? It's inevitable. You can't have multiple different teams that are like, oh, we just don't want to play these guys. It doesn't work that way.
But obviously, the dream for them is that both of these teams advance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, well, we're going to have a chat with Lala Song.
Hi.
Hey, congratulations for your win. How does it feel not only to have had the first win in your group, but also to have beaten Singapore?
Well, actually, we feel that it's quite unfortunate to meet our friends early because we practice with Singapore a lot. But at least we both have the highest tiebreaker points after this series. So I feel good, but I feel bad at the same time because I practice a lot with Singapore friends. Yeah.
Sure. I mean, those tiebreakers could be very important as well when we get into the later part of this group, because there's so few games. It's very likely that it does come down to that.
Yes.
So
I agree with that.
One question now, you guys coming into this, Southeast Asia is a very tight-knit community in general. all of you countries tend to talk a lot and hang out. How's the community been from Southeast Asia rallying around the teams going on to stage 2?
Well, can you repeat again? Actually, I missed that 2 words. I'm sorry, my English is
no
not
worries.
good.
So, have you guys gotten a lot of love from the community for reaching stage 2?
Oh yeah, sure. Actually, I received a few tweets and private messages on Facebook say that, hey, congratulations for making it, and and then some of them are like casual Hearthstone player, but now they are watching this and they try to become competitive because they see how fun it is in this tournament. So and then as we have Thai major coming up, Thailand major coming up, I think this tournament kind of helps our preparation as well, and also promote our region. It promotes the Hearthstone scene in our region in general. Yeah.
Yep. Well, you guys are
reaching stage 2.
You guys are doing a great job promoting your region just by being here and just by winning. So congratulations one more time. Go and enjoy your victory, and we'll see you again next week.
All right. Thank you. See you again. Bye.
I'm a huge sap. I'm just gonna be honest, but it just feels amazing to hear like people say like reaching out to them and being like, "Oh, I watched you play, and now I want to give competing a shot because it looks like fun."
I asked there, like specifically at the beginning, how does it feel to beat Singapore? Because I wanted to hear from Lala Song himself what you were just saying about how it's.
You were just fact checking me. I get it.
Yeah, if he said, "Oh yeah, we hate Singapore,"
I don't know what Rob's talking about. No. We saw here though things kicked off. Singapore really had just a terrible draw in this elemental shaman deck they brought into Malaysia's more commonplace token shaman. And I would be curious to see if this deck is something that gets brought again in the future, because it obviously, in this particular situation, did not draw well and thus did not perform well. Yeah,
it just wasn't going to happen that game. Unfortunately, they didn't get their early game in the early game, not against the more consistent Evolved Shaman, who always get their early game in the early game because most of their deck is early game. I just said the words early game a lot in that sentence.
You did.
Early game, early game, early game. It's Don Hancho.
Yeah, we Don Hancho was a thing. We did see, however, Sequinox bringing a little bit of an unusual variant of this Gunther Mage, and then ended up just really taking the game pretty easily. The Paladin was never really able to mount anything that felt super oppressive.
Yeah.
So Sequinox just kind of a walk in the park for him on this one.
Yeah, it looked like pretty much a straight-up Gunther Mage, apart from the fact there was Frostnova Doomsayer. And then, of course, this happened.
Yeah, this was the real highlight. Tell your grandkids you saw Velen Molten Reflection Velen into 24 damage Fireball.
Yeah. I don't really think we need to say any more words about this, really. Just watch that. It's just too much damage. It's just too much damage. I'm going to have nightmares about this. I know that Malaysia will.
Yeah. Well, I think getting the win in the series overall helps ease the wound. Singapore, now this one, they were just getting beaten up on pretty handily. Realized their only out here was realistically to draw into Sleepy the Fishes. They made a bold call, and they got rewarded for it. And this is the kind of play I absolutely love to see. Yeah. People realizing what their outs are and just going for it, not making halfway plays.
Ended up winning the game as a result as well, feeling so good. This was such a tight-knit series going all the way through to the last game. Really, really enjoyed casting this one.
Yeah, this one was a fun series overall. One thing I will say for Singapore going forward is I really want to see in this match in particular, kind of identify that in certain matchups, you can't stick to what your preconceived notion of the game plan is.
You really wanted the double consecration there, didn't you?
No.
Oh.
No, I wanted the equality. Oh yeah, sorry, right there. Yeah. Sorry, a little later on, I wanted to see. I didn't mean to snap at you. The equality primordial.
Just really sad now.
Yeah. Yeah, they didn't really kind of stick to, I think, what the outs needed to be to win this one. So it's something that I hope Singapore go back and kind of watch the VOD and realize that okay, in the future, we need to be willing to take a little bit more in the vein of risks.
Yeah. That would be an interesting game to watch back, actually, and review how you played it. I thought it looked okay here, like the equality into Drake, then you get the Nazoth with the two Tyrians, but it was just too late here, especially with the swipe. I wonder if things would have been different if there was no swipe there. I think the amount of armor that Malaysia had meant that they were going to win this game regardless.
I think there were a number of reasons why, unless Singapore took a decisive, aggressive stance, this match was always going to go in the favor of Malaysia.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the finality clause of N'Zoth and the Control Paladin. It takes a lot longer to get to, and is frankly just not as powerful.
Earthen Scales is just a ridiculously strong card in situations like that. Finally, the Rogue Mirror Match Revenge, just completing the quest and picking up lethal in the same turn.
Yeah, I said it at the outset. Generally, he who quests first wins the game, and you know, neither player having the preparation there and forced to play the Crystal Core, honestly, just allowed Malaysia to have the initiative there.
Yeah, I mean, actually, Singapore completed the quest the turn before, so it didn't quite work out that way.
Yeah.
But same difference, they had more mana to play when they completed the quest, so that's how it worked. Let's take one last look at Group A, see what it looks like after the first game. China and Norway still need to play each other, but yeah, Malaysia looking good. Strong 3-2 game records, so Singapore's still in with a good shot.
This is a very interesting group to me because I actually feel like China really kind of underperformed in stage one. It really came down to the wire for them advancing. They had a couple games where players were unable to make it. It didn't seem like the team was necessarily always 100% there. So I want to see what China can do. But otherwise, I think there's a ton of room for Malaysia and Singapore to both advance.
Yeah, and don't forget, like the top 2 teams in each group do advance, but then the third place team in a few of the groups will also advance as well. We are going to go to a short break, but next up, it's going to be Austria versus Ukraine. I'm really looking forward to this.
That's going to be a good one.
We'll see you in just a moment.
We're almost there. Quiet down, everyone. This is not like any of our previous expeditions. This will be far more ambitious. We're stepping into a land of primordial wonder. Infused with astonishing elemental energies. The plant life here holds very unusual properties. So don't touch anything. And while you may be excited to see the local fauna, you might want to make sure they don't see you. Because their powers of adaptation are devastating. Make no mistake, we will be tested at every turn. But if we stay on our guard, we might just survive. Now then, are you ready? Then let's journey into Ongoro Crater.